Orange Lounge Radio. With your hosts, Dark Sakura, Sky, and Loki.
This week, YouTube announced support for 60 frames per second video, and soon game trailers are going to look a lot smoother. If you remember Pet Rocks, then maybe you want to vote for Rock Simulator on Steam Greenlight. Flashback to the 70s as we bring you all this and more on the show where every gamer has a voice.
Orange Lounge Radio.
Hello, my friends out there on the internet, and welcome back to another week of the show where every gamer has a voice. It is Orange Lounge Radio, live on this June the 29th of 2014, the 558th episode of our show. And, of course, we do tape live every Sunday night at 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern at the Voice of Geeks Network, vognetwork.com. We are right after the Bobby Blackwolf Show over on that network, and lots of other great podcasts over there, too, from all things around the geek universe. And if you are listening live, we invite you guys to join our chat room over at live.vognetwork.com, where we do read some of our chat comments out loud throughout the show. I'll introduce the folks here in studio for now. My name is Rob Roberts, and I'll be joining you over the next few hours to talk about video games, gaming culture, and the gamer lifestyle with my co-hosts, temporarily unavailable, Dark Sakura or Jamie Summers.
She just
the wonders of live radio. She just done got up and disappeared, but she'll be back in a moment. I know she was out last week, but she is here tonight, so we'll get her back here in a moment. But joining us here is Techmaster Loki.
Hello.
How you doing, Loki?
Doing fine.
Yeah. And what's new with you?
Not much. Trying to learn shaders.
Shaders?
Shaders.
Trying to learn how to throw some shade in your game making?
No, it's the stuff that basically you use to write to like a graphics card so that you can draw stuff on the screen. It tells things how to draw it, and so you can do like all sorts of like shininess and stuff like that. Because I'm trying to find how to build something very specific, and I don't know how to do that. So I tried following that. I've watched. They have there's a website I used to look at with was it for Unity and stuff, but they also have a CG section. But this one was actually Unity, and it's unitycookie.com, and they've got this whole intro to shader things that I've been watching. And it's like, okay, you're not going to be able to understand a lot of this, but just follow along. And I'm just like, woof. It's like over my head. I'm like, I don't understand. Well,
Unity Cookie?
Unity Cookie.
Cookies are yummy.
I know how to manage shaders in rendering programs.
Oh, hey, Dark Sakura. How are you?
Don't ask. I regret everything.
I regret nothing.
I regret everything I've eaten, except it was delicious.
Welcome back, by the way.
Thank you.
We missed you last week. So but I'll come back to you in just a minute.
Okay.
I wanted to keep, but Loki brought up cookies, Dark Sakura. You have to understand.
But yeah, so I kind of understand some of it. It's just a lot of the remembering of like, there's no way I'm going to remember the long line of code that's going to take to make like a specular light shader or, just different things. There's no way I'm going to remember that. It's too long. But I kind of have a basic idea of how Unity uses Shader Lab, which is kind of weird. It's like programming in multiple languages at the same time, because you start off with kind of this framework that Unity uses called Shader Lab, and then within it you can have the different shader programming languages like CG, which is NVIDIA's shader language, and then they have like the OpenGL type stuff and Xbox and all sorts of crazy shit.
Now, I'm going to be honest. A lot of this kind of starts to go over my head. So let me ask this question, just kind of, wrap up this topic for now. Is this a lot for one person? I mean, I know this is the first game you really are programming in this new language. Have you bit off too much of the cookie?
Well, I think it's more of like I'm overcomplicating everything, but at the same time, I'm kind of I'm doing it by choice. I could probably do an easier, like just use a standard shader that comes with it or find something that works, but I want something very specific, and in a roundabout way, I'm kind of learning how to do different things that I probably should know, because I don't want to have these gaps kind of in what I know how to do. And I don't want to like sacrifice the look of the game just because I'm too lazy to program a shader or something like that. Because had it just like I was like, oh, maybe a diffuse shader would be fine because that's just the basic it has shadows on it, and that's it.
So you're just not the type to do a breakout clone or a Flappy Bird clone.
I don't want to do that.
Game.
That sounds incredibly boring. And yes, I know that's what everyone recommends. This your first project is do that.
But that's
no,
that's not your style.
No, I just don't want to do that. And no, I'm not giving up on any of this. I'm kind of taking breaks from actually programming stuff to do some actual education, to learn how to do things. And the shader thing I'm actually almost done with, because I don't, I keep watching these and I'm almost through the whole beginner tutorial thing, but it's just, I have a basic understanding of how things are, and now I'm just going to piece stuff together based off of what I've seen out there. And that's kind of how I do my code too. I piece it together and I kind of figure out how things work on my own.
Well, I know we have some industry people that listen to the show, and I'm sure there's some programmers out there that check out the show, even though not all of them, email us all the time. I know you guys are out there, so hi, and keep on making the great games that we, talk about on the show. But Loki, would you care for some advice if there might be some people out there who maybe are experts in throwing some shade and all that stuff?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what advice they could really give me, because it's very limited in what you can do.
Make a Flappy Bird clone.
Yeah, exactly. No, seriously, there's so many tutorials and stuff how to do that. I just don't want to. That would be, and after I finish this very long project, that is something I'm going to be doing, where I'm just going to be doing a lot of really small things,
right? Because
dedicating a ton of time to one big thing, it's going to be too hard to keep doing that.
Well, I don't know what else to tell you, but good luck.
We'll
keep checking in with you every week.
Well, I keep trying to get more stuff, asset creating done. But I started doing that, and that's where I started looking at the shaders. I'm like, this doesn't look very good. It just the lighting on it wasn't interesting enough. So I was like, okay, well, I need to have bump mapping in there, so at least I have some sort of it looks a little bit more elaborate. And I'm like, well, I can't just do that. I want to also have some decals on top of it, so I can add, striping and stuff like that. So I have an idea of what I want things to look like. I just have to figure out how to create that. And actually, I just found someone had created a shader that kind of do that, but it's all written in that Shader Lab language, and I want it to be also in CG, so I have to figure out, because that's faster. If you do the Shader Lab language, it'll work, but you want one for CG, and then whatever, if you're going to do mobile and stuff, you have to write mobile language shaders and stuff. So I just need to learn it without skipping stuff. I just need to actually sit down and learn it, like I did with the whole, modifying meshes and stuff.
Loki, you might have to start a programming podcast just to talk about all these trials you've gone through. Loki's Diaries.
I tweet about it,
there you go.
Usually, but no one wants to hear any of that.
All right, no. So I think some people do, that might be working on their own projects. But for now, we do want to get over to critiquing some games, which we will do shortly. However, first I want to officially roll out the red carpet and welcome back to the show, Dark Soccer, or Jamie Summers.
Hi,
and welcome back. I know you weren't here last week.
Nope.
You did talk about it on your Facebook page. I didn't tell the listeners what was going on last week, but since you did bring it up on your Facebook page, you have some personal things going on right now.
To put it quickly, my dad had a stroke. He's in the hospital, paralyzed on one side. Improvement, I've been getting back and forth from family, but for all the people who said nice things, thank you, and just hopefully putting funds and time aside so that hopefully I can go see him in August.
Right, because I think it's important to note that what makes the situation complicated is that your dad is still in Alabama, where you were born and raised, and you're out here, which is just that's how families work sometimes. So. But anyway, not to I know you're going through a lot with that right now, but I felt if the listeners know that, then they can send you a lot of love and hugs your way, and I know that all that stuff goes a long way. So
it's been stressful, but
sure,
just trying to get through it. So.
Yeah, you will.
My dad's in his mid-50s, so that's kind of young to have a stroke. So just think positive.
Definitely. Well, we will still try to amuse and entertain and lift spirits over the next few hours, because I'm sure a lot of our listeners are out there, and to transition into this topic a little bit, tonight we are officially celebrating 12 years of Orange Lounge Radio. We had our birthday on Monday. Episode number 1 was taped June 23rd of 2002. And, I have people ask me over the years, and I'm sure you guys get this too, what is it that keeps you doing this show week to week? And, for me, a huge motivator is every time I get that tweet or that, which is funny because we didn't have Twitter 12 years ago, but that tweet or that email or, whatever it is, even sometimes in person, that just says, you know what, like, you guys are still there and you're doing your thing and you make me laugh about games and a hobby I enjoy, even when I'm having like a really shitty week. And, just kind of puts a lot into perspective and is such a motivator to hear about that positive way that we impact people's lives. So thank you all for that. I don't know if do you guys want to say anything here in remembrance of our 12 years here? Talk about. Let me throw this out there. What is it that motivates you guys to do this week after week? Because I can't do this by myself. What motivates you to do this week after week? Loki?
I don't have anyone to talk about games with at work anymore, and my family doesn't give a shit about games. And I get away from the kids.
Mm-hmm. So this is your escape.
I don't know. I've been doing it for like 12 years, so.
You do hit a certain point, I think, where it just becomes like it's what you know. Like, and even the Sunday nights that I don't do OLR, because, we have a week off every now and then. And even the Sunday nights where I don't do OLR, I'm still going through my head. I'm like, Bobby's wrapping up right about now. We should be on Skype. Yep, we'd be at the intermission right now in between the two parts. And nope, we did. Yeah, it's like I'm still going through the motions in my head. Like, it's that programmed into me at this point. So. Dark Sakura, what about you? What is your motivation for these 12 years to keep going?
I don't know. I mean, I just do it. Mm-hmm. I enjoy doing it, of course. I've made a lot of good friends, and as long as people keep wanting to hear it, then I'll keep wanting to do it. I'm still working on other outlets too, but honestly, this has been. I really don't. I don't have a single reason. Yeah. It's hard to narrow it down.
I think you bring up a really good point, though, with the whole friends thing, because, I've met an extraordinary amount of people thanks to being able to work on this show and do this show. And, there's a lot of people that started as listeners of OLR. And, I don't look at listeners like I'm up here and you're all down there and I speak and you all listen type of thing. Like, I really hope that isn't the way my attitude comes across on OLR, because I'm so against that. I'm not saying other podcasts are like that at all. I'm absolutely not. Although I'm sure we've all met a person or two in our lives who is like that. But that is like so not me. Like I feel like, when we have these conversations, we invite the listeners on to talk about things and so forth, and I meet people in person who listen to the show. Like, I've made genuine friendships in that regard. You know what I mean? So it's been an amazing opportunity. So, and who would have thought? Who would have thought? If you've never listened to OLR before, and this happens to be your first episode, we all met at a local arcade. That's one way it was 12 years ago, because there was still an arcade scene then, sadly. Rest in peace. We all met at a local arcade playing Dance Dance Revolution, and all found that we kind of had a mutual interest of those music-based games, or Konami series was called Bomani at the time. So much like you might have a podcast that talks about sports or a podcast that talks about movies, we wanted to have a podcast. Well, at that time, it wasn't a podcast, I should say. It was a live show. We wanted to have a live show that talked about that community that was building up amongst those games. Dark Sakura and myself had prior internet radio experience. I was on another show for several years called Understation Live, which is still going strong to this day. And so kind of all of that kind of came together into Orange Lounge Radio, what we have today. And Loki made a habit of it. It became Loki's Sunday night thing too. And, we added him as a co-host really, really quick into the show's life. So yeah, here we are. So there it is. So congratulations to not just ourselves, but all of you guys for your support and everything over the past 12 years. It means the world. SHA 100 Matt in our chat room over at live.vognetwork.com says, I'm sure Rob is holding on to episode 1 for an extra special event. I'm actually not. It's out there. It's available. You can find it. I don't always...
The migraine episode.
Oh, did you have migraine on episode 1?
You did. Episode 1.
You did. I remember you weren't even there for episodes 2 and 3. It was
because I was in the Harry Potter room at the gay dorm.
Yes, it was a weird start to the show, but you know what? It worked out. It was the one reason I don't put some people wonder why don't you just put episode 1 on the feed? Because I kind of feel like it's not the same show people are subscribed to today. Things change over 12 years, and we've evolved a lot over 12 years. And we made a decision several years ago. I mean, not all you guys might know the history, but we had this show that was about DDR and Bomani. And when the podcasting kind of started becoming bigger and was a thing, I brought this to Loki and Jamie and I said, guys, I think like this whole thing they're calling TiVo for your iPod, I think this is going to be a huge thing. And I feel like we should be on this somehow. Now, our 3-hour show is probably too big to be a podcast. Oops, maybe made a bad call there. But our 3-hour show might be too big to be a podcast, so we should start like a separate show.
Well, granted, at that time it was like dial-up, so
that's true. It was different when everything first started, right? So I said, let's do a separate like 20-minute show tops. That's just like general games. Because like we get on our Bomani show and we talk about Kingdom Hearts. We talk about, all these other games that we really like. So let's do a show about like general gaming. And we'll call Orange Lounge Radio To Go. So that lasted for a year. And we were fortunate enough to get ahead of the curve, and we were on iTunes when podcast officially launched and all that, and we were in the gaming section, fortunate enough to be there. So it really took off. And then suddenly, we're having this look where we're going, okay, Konami's basically not making any more music games for right now. And we don't know where this music scene is going right now. And our show over here, our little 20-minute show, is getting about 100 times the listeners that our live show gets. So what should we do about this situation? And that's when we made the decision to say, you know what? Let's make our 3-hour epically long show about the topics that we're talking about in our 20-minute show. And, we will always have a place for the music-based games in our hearts, but we're going to move on from that for now just because we don't get involved with that community as much because sadly that community has effectively died. With DDR Freak closing, I would say that community's died.
Well, not to mention Bomani Style's been down for...
I know there's people trying to keep it alive, and I hope you guys don't take a slight or take it personally that I'm saying it that way. Of course, there's going to be cheerleaders, and there's going to be the, isn't it cool when? But I think when Bobby tells the story about last year at E3, and he goes to Konami's booth and asks them, do you have anything about Bomani? And somebody has to turn to somebody else at the Konami booth who works there and says, what's Bomani? I think that kind of just makes the point, I'm very sorry to say. Those of you guys that still have a lot of love in your hearts for those games. So, anyway. So that was a lot of rambling, but here we are today.
I still miss doing Pump the Volume.
Like the random shows we used to do on when Orange Lounge Radio was a network.
I miss my random music show. Mm-hmm. But now, I don't really have a way to broadcast it myself, and I work evenings now. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't say that Bimani is dead. I would say it's kind of undead and wandering the earth.
Well, it's just
chewing on the brains of other music games.
I think it's just like anything in pop culture that comes and goes. There's still always going to be, it might not be as big as it once was, but there's always going to be a little community for it. Like, I don't know, weren't Pogs a big thing back in the day, right?
Yes.
Used to have Pogs. And no, I don't know anybody that collects Pogs anymore, but you know what? I bet Rule 37, there's probably some Pog community shrine dedicated to that stuff that still keeps it going.
There will be Pog porn. Just never doubt that it exists. Thank you for mentioning Comic Insanity.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the podcast that I did with Dan Shadow.
Yeah.
And Tiara,
mm-hmm.
Mar and Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up having to cancel that because of he had a baby.
Right.
Well, he didn't have it. His wife had the baby. He helped. He lent genetic material for the formation of this small being.
Yes, we all know how it works.
It's just I have a personal problem with people saying we're having no. She's having the baby. You're just helping.
And he's going to hear about it.
Yes. Zombie money. I like that. And then we just weren't reading comics like we used to. I don't really read comics that much anymore myself these days.
Well, it is interesting, all the side projects that OLR has kind of helped start because, Horde House was a side project of OLR in some ways, and it's still going. And now that whole show is really just a different element of its own, and it's really cool, and I love doing that show too. So I don't know if I could take on leading any more podcasts. I contribute to another one seasonally about television shows involving drag queens, but that's I don't have to edit or worry about publishing or any of that stuff with that one. So
I still kind of want to do my random co-host show.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Let Me Splain You a Thing. Or Jamie explains it all.
I totally support you doing a new side project if that's what you want to do. Same thing with Loki. If he wants to do a Loki's Tech Journal or whatever the heck he wants to do, that would be awesome. I still think one of the gems of OLR, we'll get into game talk in a minute, guys, I promise. One of the gems of Orange Lounge Radio as a station that I don't think anybody ever heard was when you used to do live mixing on Friday nights.
That was too damn hard.
With
it was Wednesday.
Was it? I thought it was like Friday nights you did it, and I always said, "Oh, it's because it's Friday night. Nobody's going to be listening."
Oh, man, I don't know. I thought it was Wednesday.
Yeah, but I
Who
mean,
knows?
no. Wednesday was when we started Outside the Box, which some in chat are calling precursor to what OLR kind of became. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, so you used to do live mixing, and nobody was listening to it, sadly. And because it was the time before podcasting, we don't have recordings of it or anything.
I do. I have them
You
all.
do? You should put them out there someday. Good stuff.
I should talk to Drew and see if he wants to let me explain you a thing with me.
There you go.
Because it was funny. He started off in high school when we started the show. Now he's my coworker.
Don't.
Actually, correction. I might have those because it's on my old computer, and my old computer's hard. One of those have crashed. So we'll see.
There's still ways of getting
Tiger
it off.
Claw in chat says live mixing as in 2 turntables.
And a microphone.
Well, I tried turntables, but then it ended up just doing like a digital mixer type thing.
I'll never forget when you got that song. Was it a Raven Simone song? You actually found the vinyl and you came home from like Denio's or something. You're like, Rob, look what I got. You're gonna love this.
I gave away all my vinyls actually to my.
You don't still have the one I got you, the Guitar Wolf one.
I gave them all away. I gave them away to my friend who's actually a DJ. He's a local DJ here. So
at least they're in a good home.
Because I'm like, well, dude, look, my most prized possession vinyl wise though had to have been Eddie Murphy's album with Party All the Time. That was fantastic.
SSJ100 Matt in chat says, I believe Outside the Box was Rob, Lanky Style, and DDR Angel. We love DDR Angel, but she was more of a supporter of the network. It was actually, she went by Rice Princess at the time.
No.
And now she's Princess Irene.
No.
Huh.
DDR Angel was not Irene.
No. Yeah, no. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. DDR Angel was not a co-host on that show. She's a supporter of the network, but
that wasn't Irene.
Yeah, the co-host was Rice Princess or Princess Irene.
Sorry, brain.
Yes.
Whatever.
That's okay.
No.
All right, so there you go. Yes, there it is, nostalgia trip, and who knows, this 12-year-old show. 12 years old is old enough to be having children. If you watch any more,
was it Vanilla Sky? And wasn't there like? That was right. You guys did the trivia show to Kids Bop Music where you'd keep.
That was a segment on Outside the Box.
Oh, that was Outside the Box.
Oh, we should bring that back someday. Yes, the whole joke there was that you had to answer trivia about video games. It was 10 questions, and for every question you get wrong, the volume of a Kids Bop song would be increased slightly to throw you off track as you're trying to answer the other questions. So that was fun. We'll have to bring that back someday. Bring that over to OLR.
That was done in Homestuck.
What's that? Oh, really?
There's actually a piece that I actually like called Elevator Stuck, which is basically the Homestuck theme done elevator music style. Mm-hmm. And there's one scene where basically the narrator, as in Hussey, is trying to screw with one of the characters. And so every time the character does something he doesn't like, it plays really loud elevator music. I was like, well,
they stole it. They stole the idea from me, clearly.
Yeah.
All right. To move things into gaming, because it is a gaming show, although it is a slow news week, guys. That's why we're kind of stretching here a little bit with some of these other topics. It's a good week for nostalgia. But let me ask this question of you guys related to gaming directly and the 12-year history of this show. How has video gaming changed for you in the 12 years that we've been doing OLR? And this is very similar to the Fugle question of the week tonight we'll get into later in the show where we hear from some of our listeners. But I just want to know for you guys, like, how has video gaming changed for you in 12 years of OLR? I'll let you guys stew on that for a bit because I know that's a big question. I'll go ahead and answer because I knew I was going to ask it. But for me, honestly, I think video gaming has changed a lot. We've seen, and we talked about this when we went into the new decade a few years ago, is that I think one of the biggest things that has changed gaming for good in the last decade is the advent of Xbox Live. I think in a way has really changed gaming as we know it. It's shifted the conversation in a way to online. And I do know that PC gamers were doing it that way for a very long time, but something about the centralization of what Xbox did, I think, was really huge for gaming. And so I think, it's you didn't do that back in 2002 when we started our show. Log in and literally talk with your mouth to you could type in like Phantasy Star Online, but those games were extremely niche if you think about it. Speaking of niche games, I became more aware about the Japanese gaming industry because of a lot of OLR. And I think honestly, I think because a lot of that news didn't get over here all the time in magazines and things like that. Like, I never knew about a lot of these games that were released on the Nintendo and Super Nintendo that we never even had over here. I got to learn a lot more about that. And it's been interesting to see the globalization of the gaming market in some ways. And yes, we've seen where, the U.S. still gets its things. The U.K. gets its things that we don't get over here, like Translated Mother 3. Japan gets its things. But a lot of that stuff is way smaller than it used to be. I remember when we had to buy import PlayStation 2s to play Beatmania 2DX and the real DDRs and all those games. It was just kind of different back then. And I remember when Final Fantasy, this is probably a little older than 12 years, but when they finally released Final Fantasy VII and kind of had to admit that they'd been misnumbering the series in the U.S. for the whole time, that was kind of a huge moment. But, and then MMOs. I got addicted to a lot of MMOs. World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy 11, 14, all of it. How has gaming changed for you guys in the past 12 years? Loki?
I'm less excited about a lot of the stuff that comes out nowadays.
You don't get excited about stuff like you
not
used
as
to.
much, just because I don't know. There's just not a lot of, at least as far as AAA publishers go. There's not a whole ton of stuff that's really exciting anymore. I think a lot of that's in the indie scene, but even the indie scene, there's so much to come out now that it's hard to keep track of all of it. I was glad to be able to play Final Fantasy 11. That was fun. So I got introduced to that, and just even all the stuff with DDR. There's a lot of stuff there. Got to go to some of the Konami press events and stuff, and that was pretty fun playing on DDR machine while I think Naoki was there, like watching you play or something.
Weren't you like the first non-employee to play DDR Supernova? Because you were the first person to jump up on that machine at that event.
Maybe, I don't know. I wanted to play on the machine. I was like, machine! I'm going to play on that.
I think you were.
Sweet.
So I remember kind of noting that. So.
Let's see. What else? I got to go in the E3. That was fun. The few times I went. I don't know. It's just, as far as stuff being changed, there's so much has changed. It's hard to keep track of, what was different. I guess, I don't know. I just remember it differently, I guess. I remember, just some of the stuff back in PlayStation 2 and Xbox and GameCube days. I thought a lot more releases coming out, and that probably was true because a lot of studios nowadays are just putting out quality versus quantity. But even now, I think a lot of the quality stuff that they put out isn't as good as they think it is. Just, with all the patching and things. There you go. There's a perfect example of stuff that's changed. They didn't have the ability to patch stuff back in the GameCube, PlayStation 2.
That's very true.
Xbox days. Maybe the Xbox, I'm not really sure if they did patching over Xbox Live then, but they didn't have a lot of that. So it was like, okay, that shit better be working when it comes out the door. Now I think things are a little bit lax. Like they're like, well, it's a little fucked up, but we'll fix it later.
Release day patches are standard now, yeah?
Yeah, pretty much. So I guess there's that. I don't know. I just want more things to be excited about.
Dark Soccer, how's video gaming changed for you in 12 years when we started this show to now?
Well, just stepping away from the things that other people have said, the big change for me came when I started becoming a designer. And now I pay more attention, it seems, to the design of a game, to the world that's created, to its branding, to its feel, than I do actually playing the game. Like, I am one with my fly cam in Mass Effect 3. I'll put it that way. I look for all of the behind the scenes stuff. I look for what goes into it. And for me, my focus on gaming has to do more with the production value, with the design behind it, with how it looks, how it feels. I mean, yeah, I want there to be a game that plays solidly, but I will go for a lot more of the quirky, artsy games that may not get a bunch of attention anymore. Basically, I've turned into a gaming hipster. I mean, really, that's all I can say.
Yeah, you would tell us more, but we've probably never heard of it.
Well, I mean, it's like I've been getting my friends into some of the weird, quirky stuff I found. Like, I've got a few things that are on the top of my list right now from my Steam list that are... I was attracted to them based on how they looked. Based on having a unique approach to them. I'm looking for something unique, something that has, especially the more hand-drawn it looks, the more I'm into it. So,
excellent. Looking at our chat room over at live.vognetwork.com, VXJasonXV says, for what it's worth, games have been patched as far back as Super Nintendo. Not in the same way, naturally, but Donkey Kong Country has had 3 different versions, version 1.0, 1.1, and 1.2. Yeah, no. That's true. They can patch things, but like if you had a 1.0 cart, you were pretty much SOL unless you like sold it back or, it wasn't something where they could just, your Super Nintendo turns on in the middle of the night and fixes the game for you. It didn't really have that. When a game was patched, that was like notable. It was the exception to the rule. Now, when a game isn't getting a 0-day patch, when a AAA release doesn't get a 0-day patch, that's a shock, right?
Yeah.
That's how things have changed in a big way. So... a conversation going on in the chat about DLC. Kaijudo talking about, I haven't seen much of a change, but Black Wolf saying DLC was a big shift. Kaijudo saying DLC was something new, but I don't feel that it's lived up to what it could have been. The DLC waters got muddied not long after it started. I think DLC was best when they came on disc, not because they were on disc, but it took time for it to come out, and we got good content because of it. Well, you definitely bring up the whole controversy there about, is DLC on a disc really DLC, or is that pay to unlock content? Which, we talked about on the show.
And I know that the excuse is, we want it so that the user has, they don't have to download it or something like that.
There's always a convenient way to explain why it's done that doesn't sound like we did it because that was our big business plan on how to make money.
Yeah, or they were going to do DLC and they wanted to make sure that people that didn't own the DLC were able to play with people that did have the DLC. But at the same time, there's also those compatibility patches I've seen, so that's not exactly a surefire excuse. But yeah, I think a lot of people, when you're developing a game, you have to kind of think about what you want to do for DLC. I know I am, just because I got to make a way if I'm going to do DLC at some point. I got to figure out a way to, have the game actually be able to utilize whatever else I throw in there.
I haven't really thought about this in a while, but do games still do on disc pay to unlock content, or did that kind of phase out because hackers kind of figured out how to get it all out there?
Oh no, they still do.
Oh, interesting.
A lot of it though may not necessarily be like, for example, Saints Row 4. That was probably a good example. Last one I can remember that I played that had pay to unlock content. The way they did it a little bit differently is that a lot of that stuff was on disc, and then they would have X number of DLC packs that came out that would unlock all that stuff, and then they would basically exhaust everything they had on disc. Then they would patch the game, and in the patch would also have all that this second wave of DLC stuff that you pay to unlock in there. And so on and so forth.
Now, Kaijudo does want to clarify he's not talking about necessarily the pay to unlock content, although
expansion packs.
He's talking about the expansion packs, like when you used to buy like the expansion disc or whatever. Still a common practice in MMOs in a way, although a lot of that shifted digital. But like Diablo 2 had an expansion that was on a disc, and game
or
consoles,
Diablo 3,
Halo got these expansions. on disc, right? Yeah.
Although let's be honest, the StarCraft thing with the fact that they're splitting up the 3 campaigns and the 3 expansions is a little fucking stupid, but whatever. I mean, that's whatever they want to use as their excuse to sell you the game 3 times. But I just I don't know. I think a lot of it now they figured out that they can make extra money that way, and so that's why they're doing it, because it's money on the table if you're just not doing that. Yeah, your user base might respect you a little bit more, but let's be honest, they're not going to respect you that much less if you do that stuff, and you're going to make a lot more money. That's kind of the way they look at it. That's why EA is still in business, even though everyone apparently hates them.
Well, it seems like a lot of that's cooled down, though, over the past couple of years. So now everybody's focusing on Ubisoft after this last E3, but that's a whole nother...
And they'll still buy all their games, and they'll still buy all the DLC for it, so, yeah.
All right. Well, we'll get some of your thoughts on some more of your thoughts, I should say, on how gaming's changed in the past 12 years when we get to our Fugu question of the week a little later in the show. However, for now, I'd like us to talk about the current things going on and what you have been playing in video gaming this week. And how was your gaming week? Dark Sakura, I know probably haven't had a whole lot of time for a lot with what's going on, but have you been diverted with other games this week?
I played Final Fantasy 14 for exactly an hour, and that's it.
And what's going on in 14 for you?
I finally have quests.
Yay, things to do.
And then I couldn't keep up with it, so I was just like, why am I sitting? It was sort of, okay, this has been the weird thing is like, I will sit and try to find things to distract myself with, and then I'll be like, what is this going to accomplish? I'm not accomplishing anything. And then I'll go log off, feeling kind of disgusted with myself. And then I'm like, I could be playing a game right now because I can't do anything about anything else anyway. So it's sort of like a loop, and I just said, screw it, I'll just hang out with husband. Or, drink. Not really. But I did play D&D yesterday, and it was great.
There you go. Sometimes the pen and paper games are still where it's at, and the board games and all that. Still a notable and worthy use of recreational time.
Yes. Rolling the dice.
No, really, rolling the dice.
Seriously, rolling the dice. There's something therapeutic about stacking your dice when you're in a slow part of the game and seeing how tall you can get it before the whole thing falls over.
I used to do the same thing with playing cards. As long as the table's not shaking too much, you can build little card houses. It's fun. All right, Loki, how was your gaming week?
I played nothing.
What?
Yeah, I played nothing. I did watch quite a bit of the Summer Games Done Quick, so that was kind of fun. There was games I didn't even know they existed in there, like yet another sequel to I Want to Be the Guy. So I was like, oh, hey, that's pretty sweet. I don't know. What was it that I watched that was interesting? I was a little pissed off. They had a Mario Kart run that they did for Mario Kart 64, but they did it all legit. And so that was a little annoying because I wanted to see all the glitches and stuff in the game.
Oh, I was like, what's annoying about playing Mario Kart
Well,
legitimately?
he was really good at racing. I mean, he was kind of not really snaked everything, but he was going pretty fast. And I just would like to have seen more of the glitches. But they did that last year, I think. The Awesome Games Done Quick. I remember they had like a glitch one. So I just need to look in their archives. And what the fuck, starting the stupid feed at like midnight, and then they had like the cool games like ZZT, a speedrun of ZZT, that I couldn't watch because it was at 2 a.m. So a little bit annoyed there, but I don't know. That's really all I did this week. I did not, because I was working on game stuff. I was converting once again all my meshes from 3D models I made into my own thing. So I converted all that stuff. That's what I was working on all my free time, and so that's all done. And I decided, hey, I got to learn about shaders now. But yeah, I didn't buy anything on the Steam sale, so I showed much restraint there. And I did pick up the free things that they had on GOG.com. So I don't remember which games those were, but I got those because that's pretty much my entire library, and GOG is just free stuff that they have. And then on Steam, what was it? They had finally Shovel Knight. That's available now, so I finally redeemed that, but I haven't got a chance to play it yet. I don't know. At some point, I'm going to probably take a break and play some games, but not yet. So couldn't get the group to play Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 either, but I am thinking about maybe going back to Grand Theft Auto 5, maybe play some Grand Theft Auto Online, but I don't know what the online situation is there. I'm still waiting for DLC, so that's it. And definitely nothing coming out anytime soon that I'm looking forward to because it's just dead. So I don't know what the next game I'm actually looking forward to playing, other than like No Man's Sky. But who knows when the fuck that's coming out?
It's going to be a ways out. All right, I'll talk about my gaming week. And to be honest, I've played a lot of the same things that I usually do in a week. I talked a little bit about my return to 11, Final Fantasy 11 last week. And yes, that's still kind of been going on in a thing this week, which is filling in my MMO time a little bit because World of Warcraft, and I talked about this a little more in depth on Horde House, but World of Warcraft just really isn't doing it for me right now. And there's no expansion on the horizon until, God knows when, probably around BlizzCon. Final Fantasy 14 isn't due for a patch till 2.3, so 11's kind of filling in my time. They had a double XP weekend this weekend. I leveled the Corsair from 1 to, I think, 16 when I quit in like an hour. It's pretty disgusting.
Damn.
Remember that would take like 2 months to do?
Damn.
It's disgusting. Between the Records of Eminence, the XP ring for Empress Band, the double XP, and having an entire party with me through the trust NPCs to just slaughter through things. Oh, and the field manual, like it just flew by, crazy. So there's that. But I will say this, and since you guys are, Loki, you just talked about there's not a lot to play right now. I'm going to tell you both. I think one game you guys ought to both have your eyes on and check out at some point because I think this game is fan-fucking-tastic and right up the alley for both you guys. And that game is one a lot of people are talking about this week, Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight, of course, the Kickstart funded game through Yacht Games, finally saw its release this week on the PC and the Wii U. And I decided, and the 3DS. And I decided to pick it up on the Wii U. I was surprised just how good the game comes across on the Wii U and works in some of that Wii U integration. You know what I mean? Like I was really surprised at how natural it felt, especially for such a retro game. Okay, so Shovel Knight. Like if you haven't seen anything on this, Shovel Knight is, it's got a very DuckTales look to it, especially when you see Shovel Knight jumping with his shovel pointed down. It kind of reminds you of, Scrooge McDuck with his cane, but he doesn't bounce. Very important difference. He doesn't bounce. The game also seems to have a Mega Man aesthetic to it, but you don't, at least not to where I'm at so far, you don't exactly inherit the powers of monsters that you defeat, although you can pick up other powers. It plays a little more like, I don't know, something like Zelda 2 or something in that regard, where you have the different spells that you can cast for an amount of time. Soundtrack, fantastic. Vert, I think, does the soundtrack. And it's great. I know there were a couple contributions as well from some of the classic 8-bit game composers. The Wii U integration that I mentioned a bit before. You, of course, can use the gamepad as like your sub-screen where you can choose items and things like that. But one of the tabs says Diary. And when you go to that tab, you actually see Miiverse posts. But not like the little drawn things, like text Miiverse posts. I guess sometimes drawings show up too. So you see both of those specific to the room that you're in whatever part of the game you're at. So, like, let's say, like, for example, I zoned right into one area. It was like the very first area you go into. And I went into the diary in Miiverse. And the posts say, go left. There's a secret here. And sure enough, if you go left, there was a secret room with one of the little bard things that's there to collect. And I definitely sat there for a moment and I went, that is... It's kind of like Dark Souls method, and I would argue there's a lot of Dark Souls inspiration in this game too, because it gets very mind-numbingly difficult in some parts. B, when you die, you lose some of your gold, and you have to go back to the point you died to collect it. Where have I seen that before, right? And then C, this whole part about, like, remember in Dark Souls and Demon Souls, really, you find the little pages and the ghosts on the ground that tell you the warnings and things like that. Like, it kind of felt like that, but in Shovel Knight. And the way it's presented still maintains that retro feel to it and that very retro vibe to the game. So I was really impressed with that. And I think, although I would like to pick it up on PC at some point, just because, I think a really good game I like to own on multiple platforms.
Did you back it?
I didn't back it. You know how I feel about Kickstarter. So no, I didn't back it. But like many things I talk about on Kickstarter that I support, and it's like, I'll certainly buy that when it comes out. Shovel Knight was one of them. I'll buy my number 9 when it comes out too. But yeah, I was hearing a lot of great things about Shovel Knight, and I was like, oh yeah, I got to get that. I got to get that today. So I did, and I wasn't disappointed. Fantastic kind of like a tickle of the retro funny bone type of thing, where you have that level of nostalgia, but yet has enough of that new technology in it to make it feel like you are playing a game that couldn't have been made on the NES. So it's I was extremely pleased with Shovel Knight. It's an early candidate for Game of the Year. I'm serious. It's that good. So I think a lot of you guys should be definitely checking that out. Let's see, going to the chat room over at live.vognetwork.com. ActDef says, most people have said that the Wii U version of Shovel Knight is probably the definitive version. Hard for me to speak to that because I haven't played the others. I'd be very curious on the 3DS how it works, though I imagine it's very similar with the item stuff on the bottom and so forth. SHO 100 Matt says, Shovel Knight on 3DS is more of a personal thing. I kind of wished I could play it on a larger screen to admire the game. Also, I tend to grip the controllers more on platformers. With handhelds, that's slightly uncomfortable. ActDef saying, yeah, Shovel Knight does a Dark Souls type of thing. So there you go. Some of the comments in our chat room over at live.vognetwork.com on Shovel Knight. That was pretty much the bulk of my gaming week. Otherwise, I actually picked up a few more games in the Steam sale, and I was kindly gifted a few games. And Dark Sakura got me a couple games. DDR Angel, who we brought up earlier in the show, funny enough, also bought me a game. She bought me Steam World Dig. Dark Sakura got me Dark Souls, right? And Alice Madness Returns. So
Yep.
There you go.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, I had a birthday this past week too, but whatever. We won't talk about that. Because as this show ages, so do I. All right. There you go. That was my gaming week. So some quick housekeeping. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/OLR. And we're also on Facebook, facebook.com/orangeloungeradio. And, of course, on Google+. For those of you that are still on Google+, google.com/plus Orange Lounge Radio, all one word. Be sure to follow us and all that good stuff. And let's get into some gaming news for tonight. Loki.
So Oculus is going to hopefully get a new design, at least aesthetically, because they are purchasing the design team that kind of worked on the Microsoft Xbox 360 controller, Carbon Design. And, basically it's for, a bunch of unannounced projects, I guess, they're working on. So, I don't know. Didn't really see how much they were going to be purchasing them for, but it'll be interesting to see how that ends up, affecting the retail piece when it finally does come out someday. And then a little bit on the front of, lawsuits. ZeniMax, you may remember, had filed a lawsuit against Oculus for apparently stealing, patent information, about, VR and stuff. Basically, ZeniMax saying that they own the rights to the Oculus technology because, without, I guess, John Carmack's input, they wouldn't have been able to make the Oculus Rift, which doesn't really make any sense, but whatever. Of course, Oculus has come, out, they've done the response, and just basically saying, ZeniMax's complaint falsely claims ownership in Oculus VR technology in a transparent attempt to take advantage of the Oculus VR sale to Facebook. And by deliberately misstating some of the facts and omitting others, ZeniMax makes an incredible assertion that it, a video game software publishing company for personal computers and consoles like the Sony PlayStation, invented and developed virtual reality hardware and software. So I only kind of just glanced over it, but apparently the complaint, ZeniMax is saying that because of, I guess, the exposure they gave the Oculus because of the integration with Doom 3 BFG edition that came out that was going to have, Oculus Rift support. Because of that they, I guess, are owed something because of it. And apparently, Oculus is saying that, well, they're just bitter because they've had multiple opportunities to get in on the ground floor with, financing and, kind of backing this whole thing, but they didn't until, and then Facebook bought them, and now they're just pissed off that they didn't get any of that kind of payout from, the acquisition. I don't know. The whole thing comes down to if John Carmack actually was working on this stuff, while he was working at ZeniMax, and what his whole contract is, if anything he develops there. if that is going to be owned by them or not. According to Oculus, that their development kits and stuff have no code that's owned by ZeniMax in it, and ZeniMax has access to that, and they can see clearly that there's none of that. But I think it's just going to be, it might just go to court. I don't think they're going to settle. So
I don't know. Sometimes these companies trade some pretty big barbs in the press, and then they end up settling anyway. So, I mean, it really depends on how stern Oculus may feel if they have to settle or not. And it does seem to me that they're very much like, we don't owe you shit.
I'm thinking maybe they're just hoping that they settle so that they can get in, like, okay, as a settlement, ZeniMax can,
Get a cut,
yeah, or something.
Or be able to have some type of exclusivity or something. Some little perk out of it. Who knows?
I don't know, but it's interesting. Definitely go take a look at the paperwork that they filed with the court. It's interesting, and some colorful language in there. Just I don't know. It's not entirely professional, I think, but it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out.
Well, going to our chat room over at live.vognetwork.com, Game Guru says, so Oculus will have a crappy D-pad? Poking a little fun at the Xbox 360 controller. Well, we can pray it won't.
I hope they learn their lesson there.
But Bobby Blackwolf, who of course follows a lot of the Oculus stuff, as you guys know, is mentioning in chat, it's for input. They bought them to create an input device, not necessarily to redesign the HMD. And saying to Game Guru that no D-pad at all. It's more like the Razer Hydra, but actually working. So we'll see.
They could give input in, I don't know.
It's also very much not about necessarily cloning the past as it is creating the future, right?
Speaking of which, I was going to say I don't think we were covering any of it, but that whole was it the Google I/O press conference was this week?
No, it's not on our show roll tonight. So if there's anything you want to share, please.
Well, I thought it was interesting. They had the whole Google I/O thing, and then aside from announcing, that they're doing like support for like Google TV, which is going to be like this streaming Android TV, which is basically Android for TV. And so, streaming boxes and stuff can have this built in, and you have support, for Android apps and stuff like that. But one of the things that they showed off was Project Cardboard, and it was a cardboard piece. And what ended up being was this thing that you could strap in your phone to, and it kind of does a pseudo virtual reality thing. Kind of think of it like, man, this is a while back, but on the PSP they had a Metal Gear Subsistence game that came out. I want to say it was Subsistence 2, and it had like a 3D thing where you'd put this thing over your face and put it to the screen, and it would kind of show things in 3D. Well, it's kind of showing, like, I guess, a cheap way to do VR. I mean, granted, it's not going to be as great as like the Oculus or something, but a cheap way to do VR on your phone, I guess, or at least 3D display on your phone, which is kind of neat. And it's just a piece of cardboard, and you can literally, they have the design online. You can make it with cardboard, a couple magnets, and Velcro. So I thought that was interesting. And they even have like an API or an SDK to develop for that if you want to make your own tech demo or something. I just thought that was interesting. That that's kind of the response to the Oculus. I don't know if it's their official response, but it's a neat idea that they're toying around with. That's it.
That Google conference went on for a very long time, though, right?
Oh my God, yeah. But last year was even longer. But yeah, that thing drug on, because it was funny. They were saying, yeah, it's going to be unlike last year, which was like 3.5 hours. It's going to be a tight, 2 hours this year. Nope, that was not what happened.
All right, well, speaking of Google, they own YouTube, and some news came out this week that YouTube will be allowing videos to be rendered in 48 and 60 frames a second. I can't believe that the streaming technology is that good to actually be able to show that, and that the internet's fast enough. But, of course, you will have to have, of course, a really, really good computer that can process the data that fast, and a really good connection in order to do that.
Yeah, that was the issue. Was it last year with or was it even earlier this year, but with season 2 of Video Game High School, they did all their video game sequences in 48 frames per second, and so they actually had they couldn't put that on YouTube. That way it was all 24 on YouTube, but they had to build their own player to be able to show that, because they didn't have a player up until that point to support 48 frames per second. So now they can do that.
Now they can do that. So we'll see if more and more YouTube channels take advantage of this technology as Google rolls it out, because I don't think it's still like, Joe Blow can sign up and have it on his YouTube channel yet. But they do have some concept videos, examples of that out there already. You can see that, I'm sure, on a lot of gaming websites this week. The Titanfall gameplay at 60 frames a second. There's also some Battlefield Hardline. You can look that up on YouTube as well if you want to see that in action. And see if your computer can handle it, because sadly, if it's more than a few years old, it might not be able to. So there you go. It must take a really mega computer to be able to record that too. So, all right. And speaking of YouTube, now, of course, a lot of you guys on Twitch. I know I'm on Twitch. I actually did a Final Fantasy XI game broadcast the other night and had a few people on a Friday night for that. Well, if I wanted to, I could have broadcast to my YouTube channel via Twitch that I was, in fact, broadcasting. So, yeah, the way Twitch is built now, like your subscribers, if they opt into it, they can get an email or they can get an alert on their phone. In fact, somebody actually was like, did you have to go live at 12:30? Because I just lied down and I got an alert on my phone. And I was like, why don't you turn that off so I don't wake you up? Don't make me feel bad just because I want to. Sometimes I go live late at night because that's just when I'm up. And sometimes I do it with the intention of recording it for, people to consume later. I don't expect everybody's necessarily there right that minute. But anyway, another way you can actually broadcast to everybody that you're going live is a Twitch live annotation for YouTube. And what happens is it does a promotional alert on your YouTube videos that says, I'm broadcasting. So that's kind of neat that, it can edit the YouTube videos that fast for people that are watching to know that you're live. Now for, little old me, who hardly has any subscribers on YouTube and maybe gets a couple video views a day, this isn't particularly useful. But if you're somebody like, I don't know, PewDiePie, who all day long has zillions of, young boys and girls watching his stream, at any given moment, think about it. At any given moment in the day, there's thousands of people watching a PewDiePie video. So
that is why we are all now dumber for having to watch.
Stop. Don't throw shade just because he's successful.
No. I'm not throwing shade because I'm throwing shade because he's annoying.
All right.
Don't get me wrong. It's cool that he's successful and everything, and I'm not jealous in any way. Granted, I would love to make millions of dollars each year, but I'm not jealous in any way. But the fact that he's just an obnoxious person, and maybe that's why people like watching him. But he is a fucking obnoxious person.
I didn't want to make this about him. I wanted to talk about that. If you are someone like him, because he's not the only one. What, like Yogscast probably has zillions of people too. All these big,
much less annoying people. Those people are actually cool.
All right, there you go.
PewDiePie, no.
Fine. Then whenever they go live, they can have a little pop-up that goes, boop, we're live, and, all the people can go right to their live stream and interact. I think that's really cool. If we had more of a YouTube presence, I'd be able to take advantage of that. We have our shows on YouTube, FYI, guys. Jason works hard on archiving those shows, but, those aren't really getting a lot of hits either. But I think it's a great way. Like, if you want to pull up OLR on the 3DS, you can do that. And I think another really good thing is that for the really, they'll be on YouTube until YouTube goes away. So when people want to go back and hear a show we did a year ago, they can do it in a snap. They don't have to dig it up. Maybe if we release episode 1, I'll just put it on YouTube, something like that. It's a really great kind of archiving method, if nothing else. So, all right. Let's see. Going to our chat room over at live.vognetwork.com, Tiger Claw says, I think YouTube increasing the frame rate is good for movies, too. Movies that are being shot at 48 frames a second, the studio could potentially release trailers for the 48 frames per second version of the movie. For example, the latest film in the Hobbit trilogy. That is true that this is definitely going to see an impact more than video games. I'm curious to see what the first music video shot at 48 or 60 frames a second is going to look like, and if it's going to be OK Go that does it, because their videos are insane. Have you seen that latest one? It's so cool.
They're all insane.
It's so cool. But anyway, back to the movie thing. Yeah, it would have been really interesting if people could have seen what The Hobbit was going to look like before they necessarily went and saw it, and because it wasn't well received across the board.
Yeah,
honestly.
but that's the thing is like maybe less people would have gone and seen it. That way. Not necessarily not.
Maybe if they had taken the single book and left it as a single movie, people might have been interested in seeing it instead of it being the snore fest that I was forced to sit through.
I can't comment. Haven't bothered with the movie. Didn't read the book. I like.
All right.
I read the book when I was in second grade.
I saw the Lord of the Rings movies though.
And I read actually the Lord of the Rings trilogy when I was in third and fourth grade.
That last Lord of the Rings movie, though, seriously had like 6 endings in there. It's like fade to black. We're done? Nope. Oh, fuck. Come on. Fade to black. We're done? Oh, nope.
Well, now you literally do have fade to black sequences, and there's more movies coming. It's just it never ends. Never ends. All right, Dark Sakura, what do you have for us?
Well, there was a show that had a character that was voiced by Mr. Samuel himself. It's called Afro Samurai. And it was pretty cool show. Now there's going to be a Afro Samurai game coming out that's supposed to be on one of the, I guess, now current gen consoles and on PC, but it'll be put out by Redacted Studios, and it is a third person with a game with a new storyline that has more stuff to do. Special moves, combos, and dismemberment.
Yeah, that first game I think came out a few years ago. It was Namco that released that. I just don't remember. It was all right. I don't know. It had Samuel L. Jackson in it, so it couldn't have been that bad.
That's right.
I mean, it's like Samuel L. Jackson's in, it's going to be good.
Samuel L. Jackson is one of those actors, like he can literally play anything, and I would want to go see it. You know, we're talking about like, you know, the Lord of the Rings. If he'd been the lion in the Chronicles of Narnia, like how much better?
Oh my God.
How much better would have that been?
That would have been awesome.
No disrespect to Ray Fiennes or whoever did do the voice, but there's so many things that could be improved through Samuel L. Jackson's voice. Just saying.
That would have been awesome.
I love Donald Sutherland as the president of the Capitol, as President Snow in the Hunger Games movies. But can you imagine if it had been Samuel L. Jackson? Think about that latest preview that's out there now.
Can you imagine if he played the role of Katniss Everdeen? I mean, think of how much more awesome that would be, and very awkward at times.
I still haven't watched the first movie, Rob, after you loaned it to me, but I've read the whole series of books twice now.
Oh, you haven't seen the movies yet? Oh, they're so good.
I've watched parts of them on YouTube.
Some think the movies are better than the books, and all I have to say is that the third movie better be better. Third and fourth movies better be better than the book.
You know what? The third book was pretty good.
But yeah, the movies are very well done. I mean, there's always going to be those moments of, well, they did do that in the book, but if you are willing to cut them a little slack, you'll be rewarded.
That's where I'm totally rewarded for being ignorant and not reading any of the books.
That's right.
Because to me, everything's brand new.
That's what I did with Harry Potter. I'm like, wow.
Dude, yeah, seriously.
I see why kids love this. These movies are great. Even like the third and fourth movies where people were like, they cut so much out. Rah, rah, grumble, grumble, grumble.
I had Tiara and I had this thing that we did for like the last 4 of the books, where we would just sit online on AIM and read the book and ask where each other was.
Oh my
in the
God.
book.
Dark Sakura, I remember
And me sitting here.
you sitting on the show reading Harry Potter during the show because the Seven-ilogy or whatever you would call it, Septilogy, wasn't done yet.
Yeah, and then I would go home and finish reading it. I would read each of the books in a day. And you remember, I would buy the British versions, read them, and then the American versions.
Didn't I buy you for a birthday
You bought
present
me a Japanese
once?
one.
Bought you a Japanese Harry Potter that I found.
And they had to explain what the British slang was. Because I remember seeing... I was trying to just flip through to see if I could read any of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, they're explaining what a jumper is, what a crumpet is, just different things. I was like, they actually have a glossary section in the Harry Potter book for the Japanese readers.
There you go. All right. Well,
By the way, I just bought a shirt at the place I normally don't give my money, Walmart, because it said Hogwarts alumni on it.
Well, when you have to have something, you have to have it, no matter where it came from, right? All right. No matter how many...
Raginator.
What?
Samuel L. Jackson is Dr. Frankenfurter. That man could pull it off.
Okay, but hold on. Now, despite everything I just said, now you're playing with Tim Curry roles, and I'm not... when it comes to Samuel L. Jackson versus Tim Curry, I'm not
Tim
so sure.
Curry could make an
But-
awesome President Snow.
Yeah, there are limits to this, Darksire. There are limits to the Samuel L.
but-
Jackson rule.
If we were going to go that far, why not have Morgan Freeman as Dr. Scott? And now imagine him doing "From the Day He Was Born" in the Morgan Freeman voice.
Oh my gosh, what is this show becoming? All right, we need more gaming news, Loki, quick.
All right, so there was this hilarious article that came out talking about EA CEO Andrew Wilson reflecting about what exactly they learned from the mobile version of Dungeon Keeper. Yes, mobile version of Dungeon Keeper. You may remember as a version of the game that they hoard the living shit out of with microtransactions to a ridiculous extent, and everybody hated it. So what did they learn exactly from this? One, they have to stay as true as possible to a revived series essence rather than purely going for new players. And that when you think about a business model, premium subscription, free to play, value has to exist. Whether it's $1, $10, $100, or $1,000, you have to deliver value, and always err on the side of delivering more value, not less. So they learned nothing because that game was a pile of shit, and it sounds like to me that they just don't really understand why people didn't like it. They think that, for my $1, I'm not getting enough. Maybe that's true. I think it's more of the, in order to break a block in this game, I have to wait 24 hours or I have to pay money, is a little ridiculous. I think that's the problem. But considering how much information they learned about Dungeon Keeper, makes me wonder how much they learned from Battlefield 4, because they claim that they're totally going to do everything differently, but it sounds to me that they're not really learning anything.
I kind of hope that this is the crack in the glass, so to speak, when it comes to the whole free-to-play mobile thing. Because, you read investors and financial websites, and thanks to stuff that is batshit crazy popular, and I'll never understand why to this day, things like Candy Crush Saga, Farmville, and all that stuff that I guess the broader market of non-hardcore or even non-casual gamers, but they still play those games, that buy up that stuff. That's where investors and all that seem to think that everything is going to, but I'm hoping that EA saying this, a big company like EA saying that this whole model with Dungeon Keeper is a crack in the glass with this whole free-to-play mobile bubble, because I think there's so many games that are doing it wrong that I want to see the bubble burst on that so badly.
Yeah,
the gaming, everybody's got a little bit of gaming cynic in them, and I try not to be too overly cynical, but when it comes to this stuff, I get a little bit cynical. I kind of want the bubble to burst.
It's hard, I get that there's games out there that they play, they have free-to-play games and stuff that a lot of it is based off obviously it's based off microtransactions, but to the point where it's just like they're hitting you up for money all the time, just constantly hitting you up for money. And then there's games that are free to play that they have the microtransactions in there, but it's not necessary to do that. Like, for example, I think like Tiny Tower or something. That's a perfect example of a free game that you don't really need to buy the microtransactions. Sure, it'll speed up some of the development and stuff in the game, but it's not as ridiculous as like, okay, I'm gonna make a new dungeon here. Okay, to break this block is gonna take 72 hours. That is fucking stupid. If that was, a game that I had picked up and I didn't know that was in there and I saw that, I would probably delete it immediately off of my device. I would just be like, no, I'm not fucking with this. Forget it. And I think also the problem was that the original Dungeon Keeper games were available like on good old games and stuff like that for like $10. It's like, okay, I can spend the hundreds of dollars that you want me to spend on this stupid mobile game, which I'm never really going to do in the first place. Or I can just go buy Dungeon Keeper for $10. And I think they even gave it away for free at one point around that same time when the game came out. But it's just, I don't know. I see them doing this a lot, and I see, Namco trying this a lot. I think a lot of these guys don't understand not every game is going to be like a Flappy Bird or Candy Crush or whatever. There's so like flash in the pan fads that tomorrow it could be something completely different that people are into, and their game's just going to be toast. You
said Namco, and it reminded me of that offensively bad Soul Calibur
Exactly.
game.
No, Namco is going the route of we're trying to apply the free-to-play model that's in mobile to console. And they started with fucking Ridge Racer on the Vita, and it's only gotten worse from there.
Well, but the Tekken game wasn't so bad. That game wasn't like offensively bad as the Soul Calibur was. Oh my god. Like, go back a few episodes to hear my review on that game. So, was not pleased with that. Some people out there not pleased with some things they were hearing in the Destiny alpha. Destiny, of course, a huge game coming from Bungie, and some saying it's so huge it's a $500 million game, which Bobby Kotick, the Activision CEO, would like to let you... He actually described it as a $500 million bet, but Bungie would like to let you know that... I guess it's associated marketing costs and so forth. It is nowhere near $500 million. So why Bobby Kotick called it that, who knows? Maybe that's how much he expects the game to make. I can't imagine they haven't dropped a lot of money on this, though.
No, they've been marketing since like last year. They're definitely spending a lot of money on it, but I'd be really surprised if it was $500 million that they spent on that. I don't even think Grand Theft Auto 5 was that much.
Now, when I talked about the whole thing that some people weren't happy with what they're hearing, Ghost, which is this little floating guy that is kind of with you for certain parts of the game, Ghost is voiced by a famous actor, Peter Dinklage, which you guys watch Game of Thrones. You've probably seen him before, right?
No, from Elf. And his recent guest appearance with Tartar Sauce, the Grumpy Cat.
All right, well, fair enough. Wherever you may know him from, you probably recognize him. But people not happy with him in Destiny, saying that his delivery was weak, lifeless, and for even though this is technology, I mean, Claptrap was technology too, but Claptrap did not feel weak and lifeless whatsoever.
Claptrap
right?
was fucking awesome.
Exactly. So anyhow, Bungie says that Ghost lines have been updated for beta, and they'll be updated again for launch, meaning they either got, and what's not said here, not to start rumors, but either they got him back in the studio or they got someone else. We'll find out when the beta begins momentarily. Again, not to start rumors. It's probably him, but it's probably maybe some different takes or something like that. We'll see. So, all right, Destiny. Looking forward to playing the beta for that. When does that start?
The 17th.
17th. All PlayStation Plus people are getting in on that, right?
PlayStation Plus are getting in on that, and if you have a code, I think it's also on PC. And
which we do have a few extra codes we'll be giving away here between OLR and Horde House, but I really can't imagine a lot of you guys won't find your way in one way or another. But if you're in need of a code, we will still if you still need one, come the 17th, we'll be hooking as many of you guys up as we can.
Yeah.
As we can. I'm thinking most people can get in through PlayStation Plus, but...
Well, ironically enough, mine expired, and I don't have enough money to renew my PlayStation Plus, which is fine, because because I was like, I'm going to download the new games. I'm like, it's expired. But that's all right. So, but I already have my code redeemed, so I'm in it. Am I actually going to play it? Who knows?
Dungeon Buster in chat over at live.vognetwork.com, going back to the Peter Dinklage lines, says Dinklage sounded as if he sleepwalked through his lines, or was just told, just say this, we'll re-record it later for now. That actually does happen sometimes. There is placeholder voice acting plenty of times in like concept early stages of games, so that actually is an excuse that could be valid. Placeholder stuff especially. But usually it's the other way around. Usually a production guy or somebody that works for the company records the lines that a celebrity will come in and do later.
Like Portal 2.
Yeah. Excellent example. So I know of other ones too, but I don't know if I can say them on air. But I could just say I've heard that this is something that happens.
Because they had Samuel L. Jackson doing the voice of Shell, but then they decided, you know what, that is too much money. Too much money to spend on that character, so we're going to make her silent again.
Possibly. Dark Sakura, how about Samuel L. Jackson as GLaDOS? Would you love GLaDOS as much as you do?
No.
Fair enough.
Because no one is the great Ellen.
That's true. Ellen is great. You might get to meet her in 2 weeks.
Yay. I want to give her a huge hug.
You should.
And then I want her to sing with me.
She might.
I said, let's go do karaoke. I'll pick something operatic.
You never know.
I actually want to ask her what her vocal range is, because it came up after listening as like I really want to ask her what her vocal range is.
It's a bummer. I don't think the wedding is happening anymore because she probably would have performed at it, but I think they didn't have it in the budget to be able to actually do the wedding at GamerX anymore. So
Should have kickstarted it.
I think they did. Sadly, didn't meet that stretch goal or whatever. But anyway, we're still going to have a good time. Which reminds me, I forgot to say it during housekeeping, but we will not be here live in 2 weeks. We may try to record something either early or like at GamerX. I'm thinking there might be like a special that we do at the show, especially involving some of our other podcast friends, that maybe we put on the feed. But sadly for you live folks, we won't be here live that week. So you are free to make other plans. Anyway, let's move on with some news. Dark Sakura.
Well, there is I actually think it's kind of funny because we talked about this a little bit at Atari Party about Primal Rage. No one brought in a copy of it. We were thinking that was a shame. But, before there had been a Primal Rage 2 that had shown up on various other sources about a year and a half ago, actually. And, it apparently is real and now is playable. There's, basically the development had already gone on it. And now there is a playable version in Illinois. I'm not finding the name of the location, but this says that it is in Illinois.
Yeah, I can't remember. It looks really wonky, though.
Yeah.
Because you play as, like, human characters that transform into dinosaurs, which are way, way cooler. And it's a Galloping Ghost Arcade in Brookfield, Illinois.
You know what's best, though, about these pictures?
What?
The Black Knight 2000 in the background. And I think a creature from the Black Lagoon. So, yeah. That's the best thing about
Looks like that might be a pretty kick-ass arcade to go visit.
I'd be like, Primal Rage 2, my butt.
Whenever they decide to make the next arcade or HD remake or whatever, like they did with Killer Instinct, I hope they choose Primal Rage next. That would be fantastic. Or Clay Fighter.
All right, well, let's travel around the world and check out some games that will be coming out a lot sooner than a Clay Fighter remake.
Yes, sadly. Man, that would be so awesome. But anyways, so this week, not a whole ton of stuff. Sniper Elite 3 on PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, I believe PC. And then also, if you haven't purchased this already on PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, they're getting the Far Cry compilation with Far Cry 3, Far Cry 2, Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, and I want to say on the Xbox 361, Far Cry Instincts Predator might be in there as well. I hope so, because that's the way it was in the UK, but I don't remember. That is it. That is all this week.
All right, well, it doesn't look like it's a very busy week over in Japan either. On the PlayStation 4 this week, you have Akiba's Trip 2, which is out on July the 3rd. Over on the PlayStation 3, also in July, Battlefield 3 gets a price reduction. That's really it on the PlayStation 3. Over on the Wii U, we don't have anything until July 17th. That's when Wii Sports Club gets its retail release in Japan. PlayStation Vita does have Demon Gaze Global Edition is out this week on the PlayStation Vita. And on the Nintendo 3DS right now, Island Days is the only release to look forward to this week. So kind of a slow week in Japan as well. Dark Sakura.
We actually have kind of a busy day on July 2nd. Child of Light is coming out on PlayStation Vita. Guacamelee Super Turbo Championship Edition on PS4 will be out. Ratchet and Clank Trilogy for Vita. Sid Meier's Civilization Revolution 2 will be on Android, iPad, and iPhone. And then on the 3rd, Chibi Robo Let's Go Photo on 3DS.
All right, just a few more stories for you guys, and then the classic game of the week, Loki.
To register participation for this week's episode of Orange Lounge Radio at VogNetwork.com, use the passphrase PIZZA.
Anyways, so Kinect. Right now, they do have a SKU on Xbox One without Kinect. And Phil Spencer's basically saying, hey, you know what? People will buy Kinect because it's so awesome. And there's millions and millions of people using Kinect today. They've got billion voice commands, so throwing out some random statistics and stuff. Consumers love the device. They love it so much that they're not willing to buy the system with the device. So, but it says, they will be able to buy it at launch when they buy their console, or be able to buy it after the $399 console. But they don't have it available yet on its own. And I'm kind of worried, though, now that it isn't necessarily standard, that a lot of people aren't really going to buy it for these Kinect-enabled games, because let's be honest, like the Xbox 360, they told me, I need that Kinect because it's integral to, playing these games. And we're just kind of let down, unless you're a big fan of, Just Dance or Dance Central.
That's the problem, is that a lot of those things were new. When Kinect came out, I mean, yeah, we had the Wii, but you couldn't get an experience like Dance Central really on the Wii. I mean, I know they have put Just Dance on the Wii, but I don't know, it's not the same. It's not the same. It's really not. So, you had these new experiences that kind of justified the Kinect. It was a different experience than the Wii. And so it's okay, well, if I want to try these new games that are, kind of something different, something I can't really play anywhere else, I got to go and get a Kinect. And then what happened? There was just a bunch of dance games. You never really saw Kinect utilized to do anything really groundbreaking or really new outside of the music.
But that's the thing, though, is it's exactly what he's talking about now. Is he's saying, okay.
And that's the problem, and why people, and granted, I know there were things like Child of Eden, which was actually pretty cool, but unfortunately, that was a diamond in the rough. I mean, there was very few.
And how do you think the Kinect worked that well with it?
I seem to remember it actually was pretty cool, and you flicked your hand, and you did these really cool things with it. It was actually a lot of fun to play with Kinect. It just, if you had a well-lit room and all that stuff, it just, unfortunately, is one game out of how many. But anyway. But that's the whole thing, Loki, and I think what you're trying to get into is that, okay, but now on the Xbox One, it's kind of a been there, done that feeling. And the whole integration of the voice and the interface and everything, it's just not that exciting anymore.
But here's the thing, and exactly with Kinect, I know it does some processing on the actual camera itself, to help alleviate, the system, but I know the system also does some of the processing as well. I just don't understand why those voice commands have to only come from the Kinect camera. That never made any sense to me, how we have to have this Kinect camera to do voice commands in Halo, Combat Evolved Anniversary Edition, which made no fucking sense in the first place because it was just really stupid. It's why would I want to yell grenade to throw a grenade when I can push a button way faster than I can say the word grenade? Or, I guess navigating through some of the menus and stuff might be cool to do with Kinect, but that's really it. As far as gameplay goes, we're seeing the exact same shit that was on Xbox 360. Actually, probably less than that because it just came out on Xbox One, but we're seeing the exact same stuff. How are you utilizing Kinect differently on the Xbox One than the Xbox 360, aside from interface, navigation with your voice, which technically you could do on the 360, just didn't work very well. All you have is you have Kinect Sports and you have fucking dancing games and music games. That is the only thing. Oh, and fitness stuff. Yeah. It's the same three categories.
Well, Fantasia, I know is another music game, but it still kind of looks like it's doing something a little different, and I think Fantasia might be a really cool experience, but the problem is, with that game being delayed, essentially, I don't know, I think a lot of us expected that game was going to be more of a launch title than what it kind of ended up becoming, and it's because I know Harmonix needs the help, but unfortunately, it's kind of missed the boat in some ways. And now, you're gonna have a lot of people buying Xboxes this holiday without Kinect, who may decide that Fantasia is not really worth it. I'm a little bit on the fence myself. I do want Fantasia and I want the Dance Central reboot, but I realize that there's not a lot of people that think like me in regards to the Xbox.
Well, and that's the thing too, is with me, I bought the Kinect and I just didn't use it. And I bought the Vision camera when they had that out, and I didn't use that either, and it just didn't work that well. I'm falling into a cycle here where you're promising me all this functionality, and then I get the actual product, and it just doesn't work the same way as you're showing me. It's like the tech demos where they showed you scanning the skateboard and doing dress up and shit. It never fucking happened.
None of that happened.
None of that happened. And they're like, well, this time it will. This time it will with the new Kinect. Yeah, and then I'm going to get this new Kinect, and there's nothing going to be out for it. It's going to be the exact same shit they had with the original Kinect.
I don't believe it until the game is out on store shelves at this point.
And I want to see the reviews. Just like what remember when they were doing that Mech Combat game they had with Kinect, and it just was fucking Steel Battalion, the new Steel Battalion with Kinect. And see, that could have been really cool if it worked like it was supposed to, but it didn't. It was just fucking terrible. So that's why I'm just worried that they're not doing anything interesting with it. Now, on the indie side, there was at least one demo that I saw where it was a 2D platformer where your shadow basically casts, a doorway into another dimension. And so that was kind of a neat platforming element to it. But that was one title that was indie produced out of everything. That's not enough for me to buy a system with a Kinect. Like, if I was going to buy an Xbox One, it would not have Kinect with it.
All right. Microsoft, you gotta convince Loki to get a Kinect when he gets his Xbox One. Got to get those games out there that justifies it.
They really need to do something interesting with that, because right now it's just kind of useless. And you know what? And I'm not just saying that it's Microsoft's fault either. Sony has the same problem. Sony, what the fuck are you doing with that camera aside from having people use it for, streaming on their channels when they're doing Twitch streaming stuff? It really isn't utilized for anything other than that in dancing games. So they are just to blame.
Playroom.
And Playroom. A free tech demo. Ooh, okay. So it's exactly the same shit that they had.
I do
before.
I do agree.
They need both of them need to come up with something interesting to do with that stuff, because they're really not necessary.
Go to our chat room over at live.vognetwork.com. Dark Tetsuya says, I heard the reviews for the Steel Battalion sequel were just awful. Tech 2030 says, I want to be excited about Kinect, but I've never seen one title that has warranted any excitement. ActDef says, meanwhile, with the Wii U, and says ActDef uses the gamepad for a lot of things. Well, but to be fair, there's a lot of people that are pretty critical about the gamepad as well, and is it really essential to the Wii U? And, even Nintendo had to play defense a little bit at E3 with, these are Miyamoto concept demos where the gamepad is essential.
But I don't care about those. They showed that stupid giant robot thing, and I was just like, I don't care about this. To Nintendo's credit,
though, at least they are trying like hell to support it. Whereas, Sony and Microsoft arguably have not. In fact, Microsoft's pretty much relied on third parties to do it. It was save for Kinect Sports or whatever. So to Nintendo's credit, at least they're believing in that gamepad, and it's like, we're going to make this happen, damn it.
Well, the gamepad is not a stretch for them, because they had the second screen with 3DS, so they kind of have the idea of what to use that second screen for. It's just it's not entirely necessary to have that. And if it's such an expense, then it's not really worth having that tied to the system. That being said, I would love to have a gamepad that worked with all consoles, because that would be awesome to be able to just play and sit down and not have to turn on my TV to play my game system. That's really the only draw for me for a Wii U.
Kaijudo in chat over at live.vognetwork.com says Sony's using Morpheus for the camera. And that is true.
But how much is Morpheus? It's like, why do I need to buy a $60 peripheral now for $300 some plus dollar peripheral later?
Well, and as much as and I talked about this on the E3 wrap-up show, the Morpheus, I was very impressed with that tech demo I played, but it was one short demo that's not going to convince people to drop hundreds of dollars on the future of gaming. And I said this before a few weeks ago, as impressed as I am with where Morpheus is at now what I'm excited to see, and now what Morpheus has to bring to the next E3 if they're going to end up releasing it for holiday 2015, is what is Morpheus's Wii Sports? What is that game that you have to have this for? That you're not going to get this experience without it, because without that game and others like it to really back that up, even the Morpheus is doomed, as much as I enjoyed, my time with it at E3. A system is only as good as the games that are on it, and the same thing goes through the peripherals. So, all right. Well, one thing that is fantastic in a game, it's not the peripheral, but you just could not imagine a game without its soundtrack, without the music. The soundtrack really makes, unless you're talking really, really old games, but for newer games, the soundtrack really can, make the game. And Mega Man, that whole series, some of the most iconic soundtracks of all time, right? So this is pretty cool. Old meets new. Capcom's licensing partner Something Else Music Works is releasing Mega Man music for digital download. So now you can actually go into iTunes and check out Volume 1 and Volume 2, and these are just the Mega Man and Mega Man 2 original soundtracks that's available. It has the original NES music and the arranged songs that were in the Complete Works PlayStation re-release, and some other bonus tracks, and you can get those for $9.99. July 29th, we'll bring Mega Man 3 and Mega Man 4 in Volume 3 and Volume 4. So if you are into the digital music collecting and want to put some more video game music in your iTunes library, I think the Mega Man games might be a worthy addition. I love the cover art, too. Just this Mega Man soundtrack Volume 1, just like so many cool little like pictures and from that game. Really sucks that Capcom won't make a new Mega Man game, but they'll keep milking the old ones. But all right, I guess I'll take what I can get. All right. Well, let's travel back in time a little bit. We'll travel back to the era of Mega Man and other games like it in a more classic time for video games. It's the classic game of the week. Dark Soccer is going to dive into the gaming vault and find a game that she thinks, hey, you kids ought to be playing this game. Enough with your virtual reality and your cameras. You didn't need a camera.
You don't need Primal Rage.
You needed a controller.
You just rage primally.
Dark Sakura, what is the classic game of the week?
The classic game is Kickle Cubicle, which also came out in Japan as Meikyu-jima, which means Maze Island. And it's a puzzle game that was done by Irem. You know what else Irem did, right?
Kari Warriors?
R-Type. And then it came out in arcades in 1988 and then came out on the NES in 1990. It plays very similarly to Adventures of Lolo and Pango. So basically, you have to go through all these lands in the Fantasy Kingdom, and on the US and European versions, you play them in a set order, but in the Japanese version, you can play them in any order. But you have to go through and complete the major 4 lands, and then you get a special game that has 30 harder levels. So you have to basically solve all the puzzles that are on, the different islands, and then you have to get the red dream bags. And then once you, take care of all that, then bam, beat game. Hooray. And like I said, on the Japanese version, you can play the worlds in any order. The Japanese version was harder. It had more enemies in each level, too. So, there's really not too much to say about this one. It's just a pretty simple little game. It's, if you've played Pango, if you've played Lolo, it's very similar. You walk around, you can kick your blocks, hence why the US version is Kickle Cubicle, and you have to clear out the levels. It's really a cute little puzzle game, that's all.
All right, that's it?
That's it.
Did you play this game a bit back in the day?
I have it in the box.
I rented it once, and I remember thinking it looked a lot cooler in the commercial than it actually played.
Yeah. It's not really one of my very favorites, but given that my internet was down today, I looked at the first box in the NES pile, and it was Kickle Cubicle. I was like, I haven't done that before.
Yeah.
But I like the way that the levels are like in the shapes of like parfaits and radishes. Mm-hmm. Like that one's the radish.
And of course, you had Pango a couple weeks ago, and like you said, that's definitely an influence on this game as well. And I think, I like some of the like characters in this. Like, I can't think of a mascot quite like Kickle Cubicle. Little, DJ Snowman or whatever the hell he's supposed to look like, I know there's supposed to be earmuffs, but they look more like headphones to me. It looks like a DJ.
Yeah. Well, the thing about this game is it really does take, I think, a good bit of precision, given that you have to knock things in a certain place and work the puzzles a different way and solve them. So it's maybe Pango's pretty hard on its own. This is hard in a different way.
All right. There it is, your classic game of the week, ladies and gentlemen, Kickle Cubicle from the Nintendo Entertainment System. All right, that's going to do it for Part A of our show, but don't go anywhere, guys. There's plenty more Orange Lounge Radio to come, including the Fugal Question of the Week, about 12 years of gaming, some rapid-fire news, and gaming doing good for charity, and gaming doing not so good with potential layoffs. Yuck. All right, but we will be back with more of Orange Lounge Radio right after this. Welcome back, everybody, to Orange Lounge Radio, live on this June 29th, 2014, our episode 558 already in progress. Next weekend, I know is a holiday for many of you guys in the U.S. with the 4th of July holiday. Also, not on the weekend, but coming up in the next couple days, a happy Canada Day to those of our listeners up there. And but we will still be here next Sunday live as we always are. The holiday will not deter that show. In fact, it falls at a really convenient time this year, though, with July 4th actually being on Friday. It gives a lot of people that day off. Not everybody, but a lot of people will get that day off, so it kind of gives it a long weekend. I know I'm one of them. Yes. So excited to catch up on a lot of gaming that weekend. We'll see. All right. Well, meanwhile, let's get back into some gaming news with rapid fire news. Loki.
So Deep Silver is going to be publishing Goat Simulator for retail, and that is the PC version. Don't get excited. It's not coming to consoles anytime soon, because I'm pretty sure that a game that crashes quite frequently because of all sorts of reasons, probably not appropriate for consoles. But it will be coming for $9.99, and it'll be available at retail, which I'm sure is just a Steam code to play the game. And then also, in the age of games kind of knocking off other games, a developer, Strange Panther Games, has put out or is developing a game called Rock Simulator. Not as in rock and roll, but as in rock, a thing that doesn't really do anything. They basically say it's supposed to be a parody of Goat Simulator. If you ask me, I think it's more of a cash grab, kind of like the iOS or iOS and Android Goat Simulator type games that are kind of out there. He basically says, I saw the other games such as Goat Simulator can be successful, so I thought if a goat can be a good game, then a rock can be too. So if that doesn't sound like cashing in on something, I don't know what is. Also, I didn't expect anything near this reaction it's getting. It's originally started off as a joke, and now we're seeing the reaction. It's a completely real game. Yes, if you haven't learned yet, people like stupid games sometimes. So, I don't know. But if you're interested, I guess they're saying that the simulator will launch for free on PC, and they are doing an Indiegogo campaign to raise funding for it. So he's got a flexible funding campaign with 27 days left, and he's already passed his goal. So yes, for $15, they will send you a real rock.
Wow.
$30, 2 rocks.
Wow. Can I put faces on them and things like that?
$50, 3 rocks, and a note will be with your name in the credits.
Tiger Claw in chat over at live.vognetwork.com says someone needs to make an OLR simulator. I'm not sure how that would work.
Did you like the picture that I reposted on Facebook of the Fisher-Price studio?
Yes, I did actually see that one.
I'm going to repost that to my big Tumblr, my public Tumblr.
Nice.
And in case you're wondering what a rock simulator is, it's basically you just sitting there as a rock. You don't move. Just a rock.
You don't get to move anywhere or do anything. You watch the grass grow around you.
Just rock. Yeah.
Maybe.
Oh, nope. I see rolling down a hill.
Oh, okay.
Custom rock shape, size, texture. And
now, wait a minute. If you're a rock, shouldn't you be able to skip across the lake too, if properly thrown?
I don't think you're that type of rock.
Maybe that's for Rock Simulator 2. I don't know.
They do have to plan for DLC, I suppose. Since it is free to play, it's got to have some sort of DLC. Also, hey, I'm sure that there's a lot of people out there that are saying, you know what? I would totally buy an Ouya if only I, could pay a lot of money to donate money to a better cause and get it in some sort of weird blue and white color. Well, now you can, because apparently the Reading Rainbow Kickstarter campaign now has a new tier for $250. You can get a brand new Ouya signed by LeVar Burton in the Butterflies in the Sky blue and white. Yeah, it's a limited edition.
But with this Ouya, will you be able to go twice as high?
I don't know.
with the amounts that you spend on games?
No idea, but yeah, it's in there if you pledge $250. Honestly, just pledge money to Read Rainbow, but if you're doing this for a Ouya, it's probably not worth it.
Probably not the best way to go about getting an Ouya, but if it happens to be a free prize, then whatever, right? Now,
Well, it's not free. It's
well, yeah, I guess it's
$250.
not free. Sorry, it's about as free as a PBS tote bag. But how well is the Kickstarter doing? Is it how much money now at this point?
I think it's over $4 million because
Wow.
I remember that Seth MacFarlane said he's going to match the next $1 million. So if they get up to $5 million, he'll kick in another $1 million.
Wow, I wonder if he's going to do that through Kickstarter, if he's
Probably
donating it
not.
directly so they can't take the 5%.
Yeah, I would imagine it's after the fact. I don't think that
smart.
he's actually going to do it through Kickstarter.
Smart. Very smart. Think about it. Kickstarter, if the Kickstarter gets, 5%? So, yeah, they're going to make, $200,000 off? Whoa. I don't know what that is. One of my things is doing an autoplay. Sorry about that. I hate that shit when sites do that.
Flash block.
Oh, it's so annoying. Anyhow, sorry, where were we? Oh, yeah, 5%. Kickstarter's going to make, $200,000 off of that? Something like that? Trying to do math in my head real quick. I'm going to carry the one. Yeah, it's a lot of money. They're going to make a lot of money.
Yeah, they're up to, as of right now, they are up to $4.5 million.
All right. Well,
64 hours ago.
some of you might be saving your money for some of the games that Nintendo announced that won't be coming out until later. One of those games is Splatoon. That's probably not going to be until next year. And, one of the questions that was asked during our interactive coverage was, does Splatoon have voice chat or not? Well, here's the answer, apparently. They still don't know if they're going to put voice chat in the multiplayer shooter or not, because they're not necessarily sure that the game needs it. Well, here's the quote. This is from producer-manager Hisashi Nogami and lead Tsubasa Sakaguchi. Quote, the core concept of Splatoon is that by looking at the way the ink is being spread around and progressing, you can kind of see what your enemies are doing, what your teammates are doing, and then you're able to decide what you want to do. And that's kind of the main thing we're always thinking about. And we kind of get similar questions about the number of people that can be a multiplayer, but for this game, it's really that 4-on-4 is the best number. With 4-on-4, the amount of influence that a single player has is perfectly balanced, but also the speed at which the battle changes, the way the battle is developing changes, is also completely perfect. The idea being that the core concept is basically that players look at the way the ink is being spread around, the way it's being painted around to decide what to do. If in any way that doesn't disrupt that balance we've created, we'll definitely consider different ways of communication and introduce that to the game as we go forward with development. Well, why not the way Mario Kart 8 did it then? Just have it available in the lobbies so that after the game you can talk about what did and didn't work. And I'm okay if they want to do the Nintendo thing and have it so that you can only talk to friends and you don't get to talk to strangers.
That's dumb, but whatever. Yeah, I mean, I
Let's
understand.
be real. A lot of strangers on Xbox Live, but I don't want to talk to them.
But that's fine. Just lock it down to friends. I mean, I guess that's okay, but I
would be okay with friends of friends, though. I think there should be a way that you can talk to friends and friends of friends, but maybe, I don't know, maybe that's asking too much.
I don't know. I understand their point, but it just also sounds like a cop-out.
All right, well, speaking of Nintendo, Platinum is obviously putting out a pretty big Nintendo title, Bayonetta 2, and seems like they are very excited with the whole process. And when asked a question about what role does Nintendo have in the next Bayonetta games and how intertwined are the two companies, director of Bayonetta 2, Yusuke Hashimoto said, quote, in terms of nurturing the content of this game, there's a lot that we learned from Nintendo, and if possible, we would love to do it again and keep nurturing our child. Can anyone say Bayonetta 3 confirmed? If this sells well?
I'm waiting for them to announce when she's going to be in Smash Brothers. That may be the guy from Wonderful 101.
Maybe.
The main character.
We'll see. But for now, by the way, Platinum Games, just on a side note, I don't know if you saw announced this week, a Legend of Korra game. And so some people are pretty excited about that because, Platinum Games is kind of putting out this certain caliber and type of games. So
Yay, Legend of Shipping.
Well, it'll be interesting.
That'd be Legend of Korra.
It'll be interesting to see what Platinum brings to the table on that. All right, moving on. Dark Sakura.
Well, we do have some other stuff, actually. For one thing, and this is something that was mentioned by Aonuma about the new Legend of Zelda Wii U game, about what the scale is. Well, his comment was, think Kyoto. That he uses Kyoto as the basis for any type of game for planning out a location. So the actual quote is, in terms of the scale of the new Zelda world on Wii U, I always think of Kyoto as my base. Do you know Kyoto? So fairly decent size. I mean, Kyoto was the capital of Japan.
Sure.
Ages and ages ago.
Sure.
So gotta be pretty big. And then Cooking Mama 5 is coming out. Yay. It's already been out in Japan. But Cooking Mama 5 Bon Appetit will be out for North America and Europe in September. So, yay! Hawaiian pancakes and barbecue and pumpkin gratin and raisin bread and pork cutlet rice bowls and chicken nuggets.
But if it doesn't sell well, Mama can't fix bankruptcy. So if you like these games, be sure to support it.
And be sure to tell PETA where to stick it.
Are they against Cooking Mama? Oh, that's right. They did that parody.
Those stupid buttheads.
All right. Well, complete opposite of stupid buttheads, meaning like awesome, sparkly faces would be you guys, our listeners. Worst transition ever.
Calling you vampires.
Worst transition ever into
He's
the
calling them fake vampires. That's even worse.
Fugal question of the week.
Glampires.
Vampires.
You take Facebook, you take Google+, you slam it together, you get Fugal. And this week, as promised, about 12 years of history. Our 12th birthday was this past Monday, and tonight we are looking back at the past 12 years of not just OLR, but the gaming industry. How do you think the gaming world of 2002 compares to today? Surely there have been technological advances, but what about the games themselves, the way we enjoy and play them? So, what do you guys think? And I love some of these comments, so let's get to it. Over on Facebook, Tech2030 says, digital distribution is the biggest leap to me. Independent devs are able to get their games out so many more people these days, and if it weren't for services like Steam and even PSN or XBL, I would have never heard of or played smaller games that probably wouldn't have gotten a physical release. That's a really darn good point. You know, indie games was like a PC-only thing 12 years ago. You didn't see indie games really on consoles. You might see like smaller studios and stuff, but you know, Loki could not have programmed a game for the Xbox by himself 12 years ago.
No, I would need a NetEurosi instead.
Yes, very different time. So yeah, digital distribution. I mean, and hell, with the Xbox One, that almost became like an exclusive thing. Some of the, things had gone a different way. Critical Myth says the console marketplace in many ways is more fractured. Nintendo's doing their own thing with hardware and handheld. Xbox largely known for shooters, racing games, etc. Sony focused more on JRPGs, etc. Even control schemes are becoming more distinct. I sometimes gripe about that, but it means fans of certain franchises or genres have clearer choices. Not every console has to try to cover all the bases. You know, to take that comment one step further, and I apologize, Critical Myth, if this isn't where you were really intending to go with it, but it kind of makes me think about when you talk about the specialized in one console or another, fanboyism seems to have changed a lot in 12 years. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there was definitely, you had fanboys back in the day. You had your very anti-Xbox people and your pro-Nintendo, just like we have today. But I don't know. It seemed like 12 years ago, it was, a lot of people owned like a GameCube and a PS2 or an Xbox and a GameCube or something like that. Like it didn't, nowadays it seems like people really tend to go for like one or the other and they really rally around that. So kind of interesting. All right. Fifth Dream, by the way, kind of with a comment in our chat room over at live.vognetwork.com talking about indie games killed the NES, almost the industry. Kaijudo saying most indie games are sold off the game's website. Steam and the others are good, but indie games would still sell out without them and maybe make more money too. There is that website. There is some website out there, and I apologize, guys. I forgot the name, but maybe a chatter remembers it. But it was a website all about these are indie games that are not on Steam. It was like a store for indie games not on Steam. It was like, I think it was called like notonsteam.com or something.
It's not Desura?
No, that's another alternative. Somebody in chat knows. I know it. Red the Haze says, something amazing that I could not have imagined in 2002 when I was playing a full console game like Ratchet and Clank is that I would be able to play that exact same game on a handheld like the Vita 12 years later. Back then, handhelds were very different experiences, but now the lines are blurred because of the technology and how we spend our gaming time, whether we want brief or long gaming sessions, wherever we might be. That's a really good point. Because we were on the Game Boy Advance in 2002, right? And that was like maybe Super Nintendo quality games in your palm of your hand. Now you're getting like PS2, PS3 quality stuff on the Vita. Pretty crazy, right?
I think Tiger Claw linked not on Steam.
Is that it? So that is it. Not on Steam.com. There you go. Stephen D. replies on Facebook and says, if you told me in 2002 that I could play Grand Theft Auto 3 on my phone in 2014, I would have been like, wow. That's, we didn't even really touch on that, but damn, the mobile market's changed significantly. In 2002, podcasting wasn't even a thing yet because there was no iPhone, because iPods were still kind of blooming. I mean, they were out there, but they were still blooming. That was not quite the must-have thing it is now.
Or all of us pissing ourselves at E3 for the cell phones they had out to demo that Final Fantasy VII game, remember?
The Taco, the N-Gage, was a mobile phone.
Well, that's not what I was talking about. This was before the Taco was out.
I know, yeah.
But whatever the game we play as the Turks.
Yeah.
Wow.
I remember even when I lived with Loki, I had this derpy little Sprint phone that was like this top-of-the-line phone, and it could play games, but it was like really derpy little like Game Boy Color style games, like not even that good. Like, cause like
I was really
Snake.
good.
It's all about Snake.
Yeah, Snake, right?
I had Snake on my Nokia, and then I remembered when I finally got to play Bejeweled on my flip phone.
Renee A. replies on Facebook and says, by leaps and bounds, we've seen how far portable gaming has progressed, both with dedicated consoles and mobile phone apps and games, but also the inevitable return of the console wars between Sony and Microsoft. Degenerate Johnny says, gaming genres seem to be combining themselves. VR is bringing the action to your face. The console wars are getting more vicious, but like 2002, they still won't phase the PC master race. Happy 12th anniversary, OLR. So I suppose for some people, some things have stayed the same, right?
Yeah, like Half-Life 3 not being out yet.
Who knew that in 2002, Duke Nukem Forever really would come out someday? And it would be
Nobody.
awful.
Well, actually, everybody thought it was coming out. It's soon, right?
SSG 100 Matt says, my biggest innovation in gaming over the years was the enhancements in online gaming. While it existed long before 2002, but since then, gaming with people around the world has been more accessible and unbelievably innovative. Between MMOs and co-op gameplay, online gaming has made big jumps over the years. Ain't that the truth? I mean, MUDs existed well before even 2002, BBS door games and things like that, but like the full graphical MMO, Ultima Online was 2001? No, actually it was probably before that.
It was
Hey,
before
I was
that.
playing Ragnarok Online.
Yeah, so it's probably a little bit before that.
Yeah, because Ultima was on. I was still in high school, so it was in the 90s, actually.
Yeah, but probably EverQuest was around 2001, 2002 was probably when that was still the king bee, because WoW is turning 10 this year, so WoW wasn't out until 2004. So. And Final Fantasy.
Sure, EverQuest wasn't earlier than that?
Oh, EverQuest was earlier, but EverQuest was king of MMOs in 2002.
Okay.
Either that or Ultima Online. It was probably close between the two, but I think it was EverQuest around that time. So, but even EverQuest didn't quite penetrate the marketplace the way that World of Warcraft did. I mean, EverQuest was a really niche thing. I mean, World of Warcraft's kind of a niche thing, but EverQuest was still a niche thing. But it was a way bigger niche than like MUDs, which were the predecessor in a way. So, all right. Let's see. Let's go over to Google Plus and check out some of the answers there on our Google Plus page. Because, of course, you can follow us on Google, google.com/plus Orange Lounge Radio. And we do have 3 comments over there. So I'll start with Act Deft saying, I think the biggest change in video games so far is how mainstream they've become. That was a very short answer, but, I think he has a point. Video gaming is more and more mainstream. I mean, when you go back 12 years, a lot of people that grew up on video games are now in their 20s and 30s and so forth. I mean, not that there aren't people in their 40s, 50s, and beyond who also grew up with video games, but as, people kind of were surrounded with that as they were a kid, and they get older and introduce it to their kids, and it's just become more and more of part of our lives, I definitely see where that, comes into that is appropriate, that video games is so much more mainstream. And then, of course, you look at things like the Wii that, really even push that mainstream even further. So, All right. Redtertainment says 2002, man, I can hardly remember that year or what tech was in it. My 2002 was spent trying to get my first job out of high school. Insert additional comment here that makes Rob feel old. Smooches. And Ronnie B says, I think in 2002 it was a happier time in most gaming communities, especially the online experience. Xbox Live was brand new. I feel like the people who actually appreciated the technology had it, so this made Xbox Live more fun to play. I don't recall much derogatory vocabulary or campers, just a lot of fun and actual teamwork. That's a very interesting thought, that when these things were harder to get into, there were far less trolls because everybody had to work to get there. Very interesting perspective on there. I love these answers, you guys. That was a great question. So I read them all. So thanks, you guys, for responding. You can participate in a future week by following us on Facebook or on Google+. I think we kind of touched on this ourselves a little bit ago. I don't know if you guys have anything you want to add to that. If not, we'll go ahead and move on. Loki.
All right. Well, there's some rumors coming out of Crytek UK. Apparently, issues with employees not being paid and cuts at the studio level and stuff like that. Apparently, I want to say it was Kotaku that had gotten report of some of these employees that were anonymously reporting that they had not been paid or been paid partially over the course of the last few months, and also that they were, I guess, having some cancellations of different titles, including apparently the rumored cancellation of the sequel to Rise, which is interesting. Now, of course, Crytek is claiming, no, this is not true. There's an interview, I guess, with a German magazine, GameStar, and they're saying, regardless of what some media reporting, mostly based on a recent article published by GameStar, the information in those reports and GameStar article are itself rumors, and Crytek denies these. We continue to focus on developing and publishing our upcoming titles: Homefront Revolution, Hunt, The Horrors of Guild Age, and Arena of Fate, and Warface, as well as providing ongoing support for CryEngine and its licensees. So it's kind of like their PR department saying one thing, apparently the employees saying another thing. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. If it's indeed something like this is going to happen or is happening. Almost seems like kind of what we heard right before THQ closed, but I don't know. That's hard to say because it's all secondhand stuff right now.
So we don't have a definitive answer, but unfortunately, all signs are not looking very good, right?
Yeah, and basically they're saying there's a high turnover due to the staff being paid late numerous times, and they said the list of people who's left include key art, design, programming employees, and other employees, I guess, in there. But I don't know. It's just I hope it always sucks when you hear this kind of stuff, with publishers and developers not paying their employees in time and stuff. And I know that they run into financial trouble, but I thought Crytek was doing okay.
I thought so too, despite the fact that, and I'm sorry if this sounds like I'm kicking someone while they're down, but it's just the reality. Rise was not really all that, to put it lightly. Not a great reception of that game. So, unfortunately, if there was a lot of money poured into that, which I think there was, because that started as a 360 game at one point, right? And then was retooled for the One, it's not too good when a game like that doesn't perform to expectations, right?
Well, yeah, and remember that was one of those games that was going to be, okay, here's why you need to own a Kinect. And then they kind of made it that as a whole, you can play it that way if you want, but you can also play the controller. So it's sad because if that had worked out, that would have been a great example of why you need to own this Kinect, because look at this game, look how immersive it is. And now it's just kind of like, well, we couldn't really make it as immersive as we wanted to. So it just speaks to the level of power that peripheral has. It's just, I don't know. I think they're promising too much rather than what they can actually deliver.
All right, well, moving on to some exciting updates that are coming to the Xbox One pretty soon. Trying to get to some good news. Some things that are coming to the Xbox One are changes to Xbox.com that will help support that Xbox One experience. Starting in the next week, you're going to be able to use Xbox.com to check the data from the One, like player activity, achievements, and gameplay clips, which will be interesting. So maybe you're not near your Xbox One, but somebody did something really awesome in a game. You could watch that clip through Xbox.com. I'm assuming that would extend to your mobile phone, but maybe not. I don't know. Maybe you'd have to be on a computer at your work or something, even though it's probably blocked. But whether you're on your own profile or if you're on a friend's profile, you can go through that profile. You can look at clips on the profile, or you can look at a user's entire library of the clips. Achievements are similar to that. You can go down and look at a game-specific achievements and see, what the achievement's artwork looks like, and you drill down to that level. The 360 would already kind of tell you, you can compare what you have versus what a friend has. So none of that is really new, but it'll just kind of enhance that a little bit there. They are saying, at least Major Nelson is saying, that this is a update that is, quote, the beginning of a number of community requested features on Xbox.com. So this is what supposedly the users have demanded. So there it is. So, coming very soon. And so I don't know if a lot of you guys use Xbox One use Xbox.com in tandem with your One. But there you go. Pretty cool. It's kind of like Miiverse coming to the web, and now I can link some of the Miiverse art that I see on my Twitter. So that's kind of nice when you have that extension. All right, moving on. Dark Sakura.
Well, we're all a big fan of the Humble bundles and their sales and whatnot. Well, at this point, they have now earned more than, the Humble store, that is, has earned more than $1 million for charitable proceeds as of this past week. So that's discounts on PC games. 10% of the sales are always going to American Red Cross, Child's Play, the World Land Trust, and a few other charities. They've done more than 500 games since the launch in November, and they are working on a compilation meant to benefit a few other charities. So, Doctors Without Borders, my apologies. And it's going to be going on during the Summer Games Done Quick charity. So check it out.
All right. Kudos to gamers for donating to these charity efforts, game companies for having their games be a part of it, and how the Humble Bundle's kind of grown really quickly in the past couple of years from what seemed like it was just going to be a one-time or occasional charity event into this ongoing thing. It's pretty cool.
Also, kudos are delicious, but I don't know if they make them anymore.
I haven't seen a kudos bar in years.
Those were great.
All right, Logie.
So Mario Kart 8 is continuing to sell extremely well. They have now sold approximately 2 million copies worldwide in less than a month of its release. And apparently, according to Nintendo, that the system sales, as a result of it, had quadrupled the following week of its release. And apparently they will have an official number later on after their quarterly financial results, which are supposed to be happening on July 30th. So we'll hear about even more sales, I'm sure, on that title. It probably helps that, they had a bundle with the game in there for a really decent price, and there was also a free game given away with, Mario Kart 8 as well. So that kind of helped, and hopefully we see some more of that in the future. Also, they have re-elected company president Satoru Iwata, and so that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, didn't news come out this week that he had actually had surgery during E3? So it wasn't just that the doctors told him to stay behind. The doctors told him to stay behind for surgery, which I believe was his bile duct. Was what he was having surgery on, was that something was trapped in there, which, by the way, guys, that's very similar to some of the circumstances that I had in 2008 when I was really sick, because I had gallstones in there, and that's no joke. That stuff can make you really sick. I didn't have surgery, but Well, I did end up having surgery to get my gallbladder out, so, that stuff is no fun. So good luck to Mr. Iwata as he recovers with that.
Yeah. And of course, he wasn't actually able to attend their the AGM, but since he's recovering from surgery.
Sure. Well, that's cool that they reelected him, obviously, in spite of all that. And in spite of, more importantly, the Nintendo... Well, nothing's more important than the health, but, I think it would be very cruel to oust somebody over health issues. But weighing into that, the performance of Nintendo. And, not everybody's been very rah-rah-rah about Nintendo, especially in the investor world, about Nintendo's performance. So it's interesting that they are still letting Iwata kind of continue despite the performance of the Wii U.
I think they're going to need another year once Zelda comes out. If that doesn't, I'm sure that will sell systems, but if that doesn't sell enough systems, then I got to wonder what they can do.
The news did come out. Mario Kart 8 has already broke 2 million copies. So... which, some websites, using their very complicated formulas and ratios, predicted that it would never break 2 million. It would only sell one. They have these little graphs that show you exactly how much it's going to sell, and it was only going to sell 1.6 million in the lifetime. But who would have thought? Those guys are proven wrong. In a month, 2 million copies sold.
That's why I never try to guess how many copies of something is going to sell.
unless
never
done that.
It's the eye of judgment, which, come on. No one is going to buy that piece of shit. That is some absolute... That was, going back to the 12 years of doing this show, that was something at E3 when they were showing us that demo, and I'm just like, I don't get this. Why are we using the camera like this? Why? This is really stupid. Couldn't you just play, a board game or a card game? Why do we need this to visualize on the screen exactly what we're doing? It makes no fucking sense. And sure enough, it sold like shit.
In some ways, don't go too crazy on me with this comment, but in some ways, I think it might have just been ahead of its time. Like, now the cameras are much more, we all have cameras now sitting on our gaming devices with the Kinect, with the PlayStation camera. Now it's more common.
Big Brother is watching.
That's right.
It's not that at all. It's just, it's stupid. It's basically an accessory to a board game. Now, if those cards had some sort of RFID chips and you can collect them to collect your figures and level your figures up, they could have been on to something. But no, it was something more ridiculous.
This could be double plus ungood.
Well, even though folks may not have played the Eye of Judgment, I think everybody should check out Catlateral Damage, and I think a lot of people will check this out. Catlateral Damage, of course, started as this project in a game jam that kind of went viral a little bit, and now lots of people are like, hell yeah, I want to play this game where I'm just a cat. You just basically get to be Asshole Cat. It's Asshole Cat the game. You are just that asshole cat that knocks everything over. And, of course...
fuck this shit.
That's right. The fuck this shit cat gif. Absolutely. So, obviously, this game had no problem meeting its funding goal of $40,000. Now it's trying to create its stretch goals. They're trying to do stretch goals over these last few days, including extra levels, a PlayStation 4 version, and support for the Steam Workshop. This game is also participating in Ouya's Free the Game funds, so his financial support will double, meaning the game will also come to Ouya inevitably at some point. So there you go. And a lot of people looking forward to playing Asshole the Cat.
Yes, go play the alpha. It's free, and it's on the Kickstarter page.
All right.
That's fun.
Well, I don't know if we have any asshole cats that email us because I don't think they have access to keyboards, but I guess you
like
never
that their
know.
tiers are labeled. Like $40 or more is the gamer cat. That includes the hipster cat tier, and you get Goat Simulator and Octodad with it, and then $50 is the early little cat. I'm just laughing at the tiers. There's Lil Dog. That's one of them.
All right. Well, we're going to get to some listeners and their cats who may or may not have emailed us this week. Participate at orangeloungeradio.com is the place to send us an email. And every week you guys send us emails. And Dark Sakura, out of the goodness of her heart, reads them on air.
Mm-hmm. Hello, OLR. I wanted to answer the email from Dr. Noir last week.
Just to get background to this, Dark Cyrus, since you were here last week, we got an email from Dr. Noir who was talking about how he was on a trip in Belgium and didn't really see gaming presence like he sees in other places, like no billboards, or he didn't even really see a lot of game stores or anything like that. So I'm going to assume this is probably somebody in Belgium who's going to tell us how it really is.
You know what they say about assuming, Rob? Anyway, there's only one major chain in Belgium that sells games. If there ever is an advertisement on TV or in a newspaper, this chain is usually involved. The publisher themselves never advertise for a game, not even the bigger blockbuster games. Maybe Belgium is too small to really pay attention to, I have no idea. I only live 2 kilometers from France, so I'm over there sometimes. There is indeed a lot more marketing there for games. There are kiosks that get regular updates. The kiosks in Belgium never get any updates, and the same launch game demos remain in them until the kiosks break down. They are then removed, never replaced. Every now and then there are people demonstrating new games, never in Belgium. I'm going to have a shirt that says never in Belgium on it with a big video game cartridge. And congratulations on your 12th birthday, OLR. I've been listening ever since the PSP had the podcast update, probably 5 years or more now. Never been bored, although there is always a lack of Rob Floods.
No. That is not encouraging you to start one. When was the last time you updated olrpsp.com, which, by the way, no longer works? Sorry.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I think it was more than 5 years ago.
It was when they made that radio app thing. They modified the radio app thing to.
I gotta say though, that was a smart thing for this show. I think that brought a lot of people to this show. That was a smart project. So good on you for that.
Unfortunately, now everything works really well with the internet, so it's like, I don't need to do that.
It's not the novelty it used to be. Anyway,
as always, thanks a lot for making the podcast almost every single week. I really look forward to a new episode every week. You guys brighten up my Mondays. Are there still plans for an international show? I've listened a few times at night, getting up at 3 a.m., but that's kind of crappy hour to call into the show since everyone is sleeping.
Oh my gosh.
Yours truly, Fabrice from Belgium. P.S. Maybe we should start an OLR con with all 2 Belgian listeners.
You should get together and have some waffles.
No, you should get together and send dark chocolate to Dark Sakura. Because Belgian chocolate is the best.
Thank you very much for the email. And it's interesting to hear that maybe the situation isn't as dire, but that there is definitely some notable differences. I did not realize he lived in such close proximity to France, so he can really kind of see the two sides of it.
Belgium is in close proximity to everything around it.
I guess that's a good point. But 2 kilometers, that's nothing. So,
ready for
is Belgium the one that has the international border that's like a coffee shop with one country? I don't think it's France.
Netherlands and
there's like a coffee shop where it's like, here's the border. Anyways.
Meanwhile, we have like a wall with barbed wire and everything.
Exactly.
Even Mexico.
Even with Canada, it's not exactly an open.
You know, I haven't noticed any time where we've ever had anyone complain about Canadian immigrants. Never mind.
Polite.
Huh?
Because they're so polite.
I thought you said it's because they're all white, and I was like, yeah, probably.
What?
Well,
Because stupid, racism, especially along that part of the country. So whatever. Just blah. Anyway.
Let's go. Let's think about Belgium. Let's think about our happy country. All right.
Okay. Greetings, OLR. It's your friendly neighborhood turtle, Serious Turtle. This one's to me. Jamie, I really enjoyed To the Moon. At first, the humor was a little too corny, but I quickly started enjoying it and was cracking up with the end. By the end. I love the story and how the game makers did so much with so little. Because, that was done in an RPG Maker. Rob, since you and I agree on the fact that Super Metroid is the greatest game ever, I thought you should know that I'm currently playing Guacamelee that I finished during the Steam sale. I'm loving it. Did you ever finish it? What did you think about it in the end? And what games would you recommend that are similar to Super Metroid, playable on the PC Master Race? Loki, hi. Your Serious Turtle in Philly, Serious Turtle.
Loki, hi.
there was another game that was very similar to Super Metroid. That was actually they had a story not too long ago. It was on Destructoid where they had an interview with, or they had, I guess, Reggie there, and he actually went to the booth that had it during the E3, the indie booth, and he saw it and he's like, that looks like Super Metroid. So there was a game, and that was actually on Kickstarter. I don't remember the name of it though, but it's there's a lot of indie games, especially that were on Kickstarter, that look like a Metroidvania type game.
I honestly can't think of anything that really just screams on PC that really screams Super Metroid besides Guacamelee. I mean, that's one that keeps coming to my mind. I'm going to be honest, I did not finish it, but I'm holding off for the PlayStation 4 release that's coming like this week. I'm very excited.
If you haven't played it yet, and it's pretty old by now, but it's not exactly like it, but Cave Story is really good.
Oh yeah, Cave Story is a good one. That is. I also keep thinking of stuff on like I guess Strider. The new Strider has got a very Metroidvania element to it. And I know that just came out not that long ago on PC, and it's on like PlayStation 4 and all the consoles as well. That's definitely worth checking out.
ActDeft mentions Dust and Elysian Tale.
I haven't checked that one out yet, although it's in my library. So
Yeah, it's one of collecting virtual dust.
yes, the Steam Plague. You all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So, also you should check out a game called Castlevania Symphony of the Night. It's a great Super Metroid type game. But I'll finish Guacamelee on PlayStation 4 when that Super Turbo Edition comes out. Great soundtrack, fantastic soundtrack, and lots of internet and meme references. I love that game. Darkstalker, if you haven't checked out Guacamelee, you must at some point.
I like guacamole. Maybe I'll get a burrito on the way home.
Yum.
Cave Story is pretty good. Dan actually got into Cave Story for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
So how about another email?
How about it?
Making me speak Dutch, really, dude? Okay. Godje van dames en heren van OLR. I hope I said that right. I want you to practice your Dutch since I am from the north of Belgium and since some of you claim to have Dutch heritage. Okay, that would be Rob. I just married a person with Dutch heritage, okay?
Just because I have Dutch heritage doesn't mean I've ever even visited there, unfortunately.
You know what Dan's grandfather says? If you ain't Dutch, you ain't much. I have a picture of Dan holding up a picture of cheese that's like got Van Gogh on it, and it's called A Dutch Masterpiece. Yeah. I am Belgian, currently living in Brussels, so I wanted to answer our dear friend Dr. Noir on his questions in gaming in Belgium from last week's show.
Wait, we heard from two. We heard from
both of them.
Both of them.
Both of our Belgian fans.
Well done responding to the call.
All two of them.
I think we're going to cut a gold star in half and have them share it.
I would like to have 5 Belgian listeners so we can each give them a point, and then we'll eat the center. Okay. First of all, he seems to have discovered the country was devoid of video games. First of all, Dr. Noir mentioned sticking to the museums and business districts in Brussels. Obviously, you won't find many gaming shops here. Neither would you in the touristic areas in Paris, Amsterdam, etc. There are only a handful of shops that sell games in Belgium. All the other ones went out of business together with CD stores and movie rental places. There's a dedicated chain of stores called Game Mania. They sell nothing but games, mostly console games. Their stores are usually on the outskirts of towns and cities. In the cities, you can find big chain stores such as Fnac, a French company, a crossover between Best Buy and Barnes & Noble, and Media Market, a German company similar to a German company similar to Best Buy. I've lived in Germany and Spain as well, and I can tell you the retail market for games is similar all over Europe, limited to a handful of the same big stores that sell all types of media and electronics. So don't we all buy our games on Steam nowadays anyway? Who needs stores? When it comes to advertising for games, this is still something of a novelty here. I remember seeing posters for Max Payne 3 in Germany once, and you will see an occasional trailer on TV or in a movie theater, but that's it. I can't confirm people of all ages and ethnicities game in Brussels. For example, I can confirm people of all ages and ethnicities game in Brussels. For example, I bought my PS3 secondhand from an 8-year-old Latin American kid in Brussels. It's a very diverse place. This concludes our report on gaming in Belgium. It appears, in fact, people here can occasionally put down their waffles and beers long enough to hold a controller.
But why should they?
Right. This has been Martin live from Belgium for Orange Lounge Radio. Back to the studio. Okay, Martin is officially our Belgian correspondent.
Well, wait, what? Don't shaft the other guy.
The other one is officially our Belgian fan club president.
Okay. Giving them 2 distinct roles to share. Okay, fair enough. I want to know if we have other people in Belgium who are listening. That's pretty awesome.
I'm putting the call out for Belgian emails. Teach me something in Dutch every week. Which is really awful because I'm still studying for the JLPT.
Speaking of correspondence, Extifer is on a plane, right? From Horde House, my buddy from Horde House. He's been on this show a handful of times. He is on a plane right now on his way to the UK.
Leaving on a jet plane.
That little jerk. He is meeting Syl in person. And,
I love Syl.
I know. I'm so fucking jealous that I could see red.
Rob.
What?
I'm going to ask Syl to be my girlfriend.
Is Dan okay with that?
I don't care.
He's a man. Yes, he's okay.
This is my cute European girlfriend. I don't know.
There you go.
She can be my pretend girlfriend.
There you go.
Still be my official fake girlfriend. Please.
Wow, we just had a proposal live on air here at OLR. That's an OLR first.
Check yes or no.
Will you?
I'll play MASH with her.
Will you pretend to go out with me? Check one. We can go to Belgium together.
Can I do the next email?
Are you guys going to elope to Belgium? That's what's going to happen. That's how this ends.
No, we're gonna elope to Aruba, where they speak 11 languages.
Which is a Dutch country.
And they have their own special language that's like a weird combination of 7 languages. Because I read it last night on the internet.
Next email. I've been to Aruba. I was 7 years old and I don't remember much, but I've been there.
Aruba, Jamaica. Hey, OLR peeps. Your friendly neighborhood South African again. Got all over the world. First of all, I'd like to wish you all, for the many years of broadcasting, congrats. And secondly, not everything happens in Johannesburg, Rob, just most things. I actually stay in Durban on the East Coast, right on the beachfront. Not that I ever actually go there. The sun is a monster. Anyway, I was wondering what internet speeds you guys are all running so I can be all jelly about it. You see, down here in South Africa, our max line speed is only 10 megabytes, and I myself only have a 1 megabyte line. Then for a more fun question, if you could have any superpower, what would it be and why? Thanks again for all your hard work, Screes. I think we have a 22...
I have no idea. I'm almost afraid to run a test while the show is in progress. It might knock us offline, but I'm running one on my mobile right now. I'm going to run on my mobile phone to tell you what it is because it's going to piss this guy off.
Well, my friend Tarali, who I sent a copy of her stolen fan art to off of a Russian magazine, she was telling me just the other day online, because we chat every morning for her and morning for me about what it's like in Australia versus what it's like here. And she says that in Australia, though, they are still using copper phone wires and have no fiber optic or any of that and get very, very low speeds.
All right, for our listener in not Johannesburg, what is tonight? Tonight is International Night at Orange Lounge Radio. Actually, I got to tell you this. Since we're talking about anniversaries and things, I do love that this show has an international and I feel like it's succeeded. We've succeeded in having a show that works internationally because I think, in some of the podcasts I've listened to out there and so forth, not to knock other people, but I do feel like sometimes there's too much of a focus on one place when podcasting is a worldwide thing. So I take it as a huge compliment and I'm thankful that we have listeners in all these countries and all these places who actually give a damn enough to email us. So thank you very much. Now to make this guy feel bad, since he asked, here you go. I ran a speed test on my iPhone 5, which keep in mind is wireless right now and runs through the wireless network while the show is broadcasting. Ping 36 milliseconds, download 16.41 megabits, upload 11.53 megabits. And what he say he had? He had a 1 down?
Yeah, 1.
So 16 times as fast. Sorry.
Well, hopefully he pays much less than we do for internet.
Hopefully. I don't know, though.
Well, and mine at home.
If he lives out by the beach.
And mine at home, when it works, because Comcast, lol, is 22 to 25, something like that. And that's with Dan sim racing and me doing all my stuff.
Yeah, again, I would run it on the computer, but we are trying to do a show. So.
I'm just saying, I updated my entire Adobe suite because now that I'm finally paying for it, hooray, student discount. I downloaded the entire Creative Cloud suite in like less than an hour.
Well, next time I sit here and complain about my internet being out or being too slow, I will remember, kids in South Africa have no fast internet.
So, actually, I have a question. Because I was reading about languages and about multilingual countries. I know that English is probably one of the more commonly used languages in South Africa, but I was reading about some of the other commonly used ones, like Afrikaans is basically coastal, I believe. But which actually, I'd like to know what languages that you are fluent in. Being in South Africa, what you hear used most in your region, because I have an interest in these kind of things.
All right.
Also, the other question was, if you could have any superpower, what would it be and why?
I feel like we got asked this before a couple months ago.
No, last week we got asked
Pokemon.
what crime we could commit.
Oh. All right. Superpower. I would like to be able to heal sick people.
Oh,
I know. That or be invisible. Hard to tell. It depends what side of me is answering the question. Do you get Halo Rob or Horns Rob? Uh-oh. Here comes Alan with his own answer to the question for me, I'm sure.
Hello. Do you want to heal sick people?
Yeah.
So they have cancer. What's your favorite Super NES game? Super Nintendo or Super Metroid or Chrono Trigger? Chrono Trigger. Oh, I'm so sorry. That's so horrible to hear.
Stop. You are not funny. Get out.
It's not
I
working
thought that
right
was
now.
adorable, Alan.
Alan, how's Final Fantasy 14 going for you today? Oh, shut up. I just got him revved up. Wait, can you come here a second so I can tease you on air, please? Please?
Shall we leave the room so you can have some private time?
So, Alan got banned from Final Fantasy 14. Not really. What happened, Alan?
My security software smartphone token app mysteriously reset, or I was probably handling the phone when I was half asleep and did something to it. But yeah, I can't generate the one-time password that you like in a WoW authenticator, and they don't have support open on weekends. And I had written down or saved every other number associated with my account but the emergency security token removal password, which you have to log in to get, and you're supposed to save it like in a note, like in a text file, and I can't log in to see it without that. So I was dumb, and I locked myself out of the game.
So now, because Square Enix support is closed today, Alan is forced to play his backlog of Steam games that he bought during the Steam sale. You poor thing.
Yes, I bought even more Steam summer sale games than I've actually been forced to install and play some of them. What's up with that? Games are Pokemon. You just collect them. You don't play them.
Can you try to breed them so we stop spending so much money on them?
Sure.
Yeah, but can you sell Pokemon? Because you can't sell Steam games.
I'll breed this Portal 2 with this Half-Life 2, and maybe I'll get a Half-Life 3 out of it.
If you're Shane, you breed like 500 Oshawotts in your quest to get a shiny, and then you talk about, I asked him, I said, well, what happens to the Oshawotts that don't become shinies? And he says, they turn into coats.
But see, I think it's more the Steam collectible card thing is, like Pokemon versus, actual game buying.
Can I ask you about dinner, since I've already thread-jacked your entire show?
Sure, why not?
I can make tortellini and then mix in penny pasta, or is that just too carby and pasta for you?
Nothing is too carby and pasta for me.
That'll be filling enough for you? Okay.
Sure.
I'll get to work.
Thanks, honey. You're the best.
Alan is a good house husband.
I don't know what the word too carby means. Actually,
I know,
those would
that's
be
like not in my
words.
dictionary. Not at all. All right, where were we? Superhero powers. I said mine. What about you guys?
Portal powers.
Oh, okay. You just want a portal gun.
Yeah, and the lungfall boots, Except, I don't know, I get super motion sick. So maybe also add in a bonus Dramamine power.
Loki?
I don't know. The power to commit crime. No, I can't think of any serious answers. The other one I liked was Don Cheadle's version of Captain Planet. Human tree.
I thought of this one.
Okay.
The psychic bitch slap.
Where you just have to think and they'll get bitch slapped. They're like, ow.
They had a great Reddit thread that was this week where they're talking about, like, if you had the power of telekinesis, but you could only use it to be a jerk to people, how would you do that? And so they had some really good ones, like, oh yeah, I would, I'd move the straw out of the way whenever someone's trying to sip their soda or something like that, or like I would follow someone around and make them think that they had telekinetic powers until they became famous and then leave. And then, I don't know, there were some other funny ones in there. But, yeah, I think it'd be fun just to mess with people. And money.
All right. I think we've given a fair answer to this guy's question.
The ability to fire money from my hands.
How about the next email?
Yes, next email.
We've got 2 more.
Loki's living out in his money pool.
Dear Peoples, I saw this story just now, and I was struck with a series of questions that someone more aware of the history and current status of the politics in this area is more adept at answering. And the thing was, Oakland was moving to, says Oakland moves to flip decades-old pinball ban and work on new gambling laws. Basically, I think it was Alameda County had
which is funny because I think they had a pinball museum there anyway. They have a pinball museum there anyway. It just doesn't take quarters. You pay to get in.
The pinball is, there's a line in the article, pinball machines continue to be illegal in Alameda, but the Pacific Pinball Museum, which features over 90 classic machines for the public, registered as a nonprofit and removed the coin slots to comply with the law.
It is really interesting to see because something very similar happened in San Francisco recently. They're trying to put an arcade in the Castro, actually, of all places, and it was limited on the number of machines they could have because of some old-ass law that dates back to arcades being equated with gambling machines, so they couldn't have all the machines. But they got around it at the end of the day, so they're going to have this barcade type of thing in the Castro in San Francisco, which, the gay nerd in me is like super excited for, actually. So yay. But as far as the pinball thing goes, I think it's I'm glad these old laws are being challenged. And you know what? Sometimes laws have to change as, new technologies and new things come up. Maybe patent law will be next, but that might be wishing for too much.
I saw this morning that they're putting some anti-patent reform person they're supposed to be putting some anti-patent reform guy as the head of the patent office or something now. So it sounds like the whole FCC thing all over again.
Oh boy.
Anyway, to read the rest of the email,
Yep.
Why the fuck didn't they do this sooner? Have the local morons who claim to represent people, aka politicians, tried to do this before? What the fuck kind of fucking argument can people make against the overturn of this fucking law? Seriously, what the fuck? Stay black, Redtertainment, trainer.
To be fair, had anybody really challenged it before? Do we have evidence that people...
I haven't read the article in full.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Did people really try to challenge the law before, or did people accept it as status quo and, I'll go build my arcade somewhere else?
Sounds like they're supposed to be reviewing this. This article was posted on June 20th. So it looks like they may have already had the review, and it's supposed to go to vote in July, so...
I bet most politicians today in Alameda County had no idea that it was a law. That's how complicated it can get sometimes, unfortunately. So, all right, last email.
Yeah, I was seeing what was wrong with y'all. Apparently, it was because over our internet connection.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm not sorry over something I can't help. If I could share my internet speed, I would more than happily do it. But I can't.
I think you need to download more RAM.
You're like a tech support commercial. All right.
No, they seriously have a website where you can download more RAM. Makes your computer faster.
Next email.
What's up, Orange Lounge? This week I'm on my annual fishing trip, and I'm sending my email from the beautifully stinky city of Dryden in Ontario, Canada. There's a giant paper mill in the middle of the city that keeps it nice and, quote, fresh, end quote. For the record, Mobile, Alabama, where I grew up, had the Scott Paper Company mill, and it smelled like paper mill for years, and then when it shut down, we finally realized what the ocean breeze actually smells like. Where was your favorite vacation? What did you do? And what was the most memorable part? Wow. My favorite vacation. I guess all the million times I've been to Disneyland. Because I like going to Disneyland a lot. I did have a really good summer as a kid, where my dad, his wife at the time, my sisters, and I went up and went water skiing for an entire week, just camping out. I think I didn't change out of my bathing suit for an entire week, except to change into another bathing suit, and it was just great. It was really fun. Had a great time. Caught fireflies at night because we apparently don't have fireflies in California.
Nope.
And ate good food. That was pretty fun.
I think my favorite vacation was probably in 2009. So it was while this show was going on. I went to Hawaii by myself. I went to a wedding that was out there, but it was after a really shitty year, which was 2008. And if you kind of go back and listen to this show in 2008, that was the year that I was really sick. I had to have the surgery. I went through a really bad breakup with, I'm not going to mince words here, was a pretty toxic person. So, it was really like I went to this wedding that was at the very beginning of 2009. It was like literally like the first or second weekend in January that I went out there, and it was really like setting the tone. I'm cleaning the slate. I'm starting over, and it was just such a great vacation in the way of like cleansing the past year of shit and starting a better year. And 2009 was a better year. I started dating Alan at the end of 2009, so.
Actually, there is something. The money that I used to move out here was the money I was using to go to my first anime expo. So technically, me moving to California was a vacation that never ended.
A one-way vacation.
And Dan and I went to my first anime expo.
Well, you have worn out your welcome. I'm just kidding.
Well, bitch, I'm just kidding. Hearts. I love. But no, it's hard being away from my family sometimes, but I've had nothing but good happen since I moved out here, really.
Yeah.
So,
Loki?
I don't really take vacations. So
maybe you should start.
Okay. Who wants to take the kids?
Your grandparents.
Dan would babysit them.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Dan will babysit them, and then he'll be glad to give them back when you're back.
Can't you take him to a kennel?
They don't have
Baby wrangler.
Baby kennels.
Darn, somebody should
They
start
should make
that.
baby kennels.
They should make a baby kennel.
There's some food in there.
All right.
It'll be fine.
Put the emails down. We're joking.
There's
All right.
more.
All right. Oh, there's more.
Yeah.
I meant the people that were going to email us, how dare you suggest that babies go to a kennel, blah, 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 blah.
Because we don't have them.
Some days, man. Some days. And I do have them.
All right.
Just
Hey.
a word of advice for all new parents that when you go to
You
the
had control over that.
When you go to the hospital and the first night or whatever, they're like, hey, do you want us to take the baby to the nursery, and because like the first time when we had Josh, we're like, no, we'll keep him in here, he's a new baby, we want to make sure he's okay and stuff like that. Fuck that. Send the baby to the fucking nursery because you will not get any sleep. That's your sleep time right there. Get your sleep time in because you won't get sleep time anytime after that.
When was the last time you slept, Loki?
Oh, I sleep, but I sleep. I always wake up around 4 or 5 in the morning every day.
Oh my gosh.
Don't you guys co-sleep?
No,
I thought you did. Oh.
no, it's just that we have to get up that early because Josh, for some reason, has this clock set to I'm going to wake up at 6 at the latest.
Means we need to move to the East Coast.
This just reiterates to me
It doesn't work that way.
that toddlers and cats have the same mentality.
Oh, fuck my cat, too. Seriously. 4 in the morning. I want attention. Scratch, 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 scratch. Fuck you. I just woke up with the baby, and now you're going to come wake me up and the baby? Oh, and if I don't answer the door, or it's like, well, I just want you to turn on the faucet in the sink in the bathroom because I want to drink water from there. You have a bowl of water I just filled up.
Get one of those fountains.
It doesn't matter. She will still go to the sink.
Who knew that an emailer asking about vacations would get Loki riled up tonight?
Not like it takes much. Not so silly.
You
this
haven't
week.
vacationed for years.
I have a vacation for the rest of my life because I can't have them, and now I'm happy. The end. I have a cat. Not so silly this week, but still a good topic. Everyone enjoys a damn I wish I was there story. Much love, EA Skeezy. Well, I guess in this case you wouldn't want to go damn you wish you were there when you've got cats and babies waking you up. Loki, I will babysit for you and Ellie once.
Yeah, good luck her
Once.
trusting anybody.
Once.
All right.
No.
If you want to email us, participate at orangeloungeradio.com. You can also ask us questions about games. I don't mind the random stuff. I mean, that's cool that people want to get to know us better and what have you. But you can also ask us about games. Just saying.
Oh, I did remember one other good vacation.
All right,
When we
quickly.
went to PAX, and I took selfies with Jonathan Colton. That was awesome.
Good times, good times. Bobby Blackwolf in our chat room over at live.vognetwork.com says Jamie's favorite vacation was spending a day at Disneyland with me.
Yes, because we went to Electronica.
Yes, because that's where VOG started.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah,
was
actually,
said vacation,
very
so-
memorable. And Electronica.
Yes. All right. Let's get to the FUs of the week. From vacations to reality. It's the FUs of the week.
Oh, this is bad. Here is justice. Here is punishment. This is fucked up.
FU to the incredible amount of stress I've been under since finding out about my dad. I'm doing okay at work. I can make it through my day, but then I come home just so exhausted from, I think, having to keep my head above water. The worst thing is that I'm stuck here and really don't have a way to get back to Alabama for the time being. I mean, and just getting pressure from family and pressure from this, that, and the other, when really all I want is my dad to be better. So, that's it.
Loki.
I just have to do my headache. Try eye strain.
I don't know. My FU of the week just goes to walking uphill in San Francisco last night. Those hills are no fucking joke in San Francisco, I'll tell you that. An FU to traffic coming out of the city. A good old-fashioned standard FU to traffic. It took me like 45 minutes just to get out of San Francisco, which, whatever, Pride's a freaking mess anyway. But I was stuck for an hour, and that's not an exaggeration. Like, some people say, like, oh, it was a whole hour, and it was really like 10 minutes. No, it was an actual hour. I measured it on the clock. I knew very well. It took an hour to get across the stupid Vallejo Bridge, the Carquinez Bridge, or whatever they call it, because they had 3 booths open on Pride weekend. FU to traffic. That made me a little bit upset. So I went to bed at 3 a.m. and I got up at 9 a.m. today. No naps. Been doing okay so far, knock on wood. All right, a couple more stories for you guys, and then we're going to open up the Skype line at 1-877-GAME-OLR or our username on Skype, Orange Lounge Radio. But first, Loki.
So Minecraft sold a whole ton of copies. In fact, it sold more copies on console than it has on PC. 54 million total copies sold, and the console editions, of course, have outsold PC now. So that is a lot of copies of that game, and I can only imagine that more copies are going to be sold every day. And I would love to see what the next update is, because I have been so out of Minecraft. I really need to go update the server. Might as well just call the server OLR PSP.
Update the server and I'll finish digging more holes.
I mean, you can play it. It works. It's just I haven't updated any of the plugins that go with it. But I'll do it one of these days.
All right. And lastly, ending on this note, it's been referenced a couple times in tonight's show, but just one more shout out for Summer Games Done Quick, because I know a lot of our listeners get really into this. I brought up Extrovert earlier, and I know he likes to watch these and was tweeting about it, and I know plenty of you guys love to watch these quick game run-throughs that are done. And Speed Demo Archives has come out and said that over $700,000 was raised for the Doctors Without Borders charity in this past week. So that's really cool. And if you don't know what Summer Games Done Quick is, that means people that are very good at certain games play them very quickly. And sometimes they're blindfolded and what have you. And, since they are doing party tricks, we donate money. And we know that the money goes to a good cause. Combined total of $2.75 million raised for charities since the Game Duns Quick Marathons began. And I know there's another one that comes in the fall, winter-ish time. So they do a couple of these a year. So congrats to you guys and giving a good name for gamers out there, using games for good. That's always worth reporting on. All right. It's that time of the show where we open up the Skype line. Ready, set, go. 1-877-GAME-OLR or a username on Skype is Orange Lounge Radio. If you want to give us a call, it is open now. And Tiger Claw pointing out in our chat room at live.vognetwork.com, they are still broadcasting with the bonus stream. That is going on right now. So if you still want to check it out and give them more money, you can if you'd like.
Oh, I looked at that earlier today. I thought they had stopped, so I didn't watch it. Oh, well.
Dan's been watching it pretty regularly, and we watched some of the demonstrations of some of the game glitches. It was pretty neat.
Didn't Mario Marathon happen like really recently too?
Yeah, it did last weekend.
Lots of good stuff. All right, we do have a call coming in though, so let's get to it. Hi, you're on Orange Lounge Radio. Who's this?
It's the one and only Ranma.
Hey, Rama.
It's the one and only Artemis.
Him too.
How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. How about you, good sir?
I'm super. Thanks for asking.
Is that your answer to everything?
Shouldn't it be?
Fair enough.
You're wearing your Minako shirt.
Yes,
I gotta ask,
am.
have you been practicing your Mario or your Luigi death stare?
Do you know how many requests I got for that when I was dressed as Dr. Mario at Anime Next?
I worry that's going to jump the shark a little bit. Like, don't get me wrong, Angry Luigi's a great thing, and I'm glad to see Nintendo kind of get a meme out of one of their games like that. But let's use Angry Luigi sparingly at this point.
It's okay. The villager will come back.
No, let Nintendo milk this because Luigi Death Stare has increased sales of the Wii U, and you know they need it.
That is true. This is true. I'm not complaining about that end of it.
Mm-hmm.
So what's on your mind tonight, buddy?
Well, besides the fact that I officially graduated from college,
Congratulations!
Thank you.
On my
thank you.
birthday, just trying to upstage me. I see how you are.
Well, I was about to do a birthday celebration, but if you want to be like that, I can hang up.
No. It's okay. If you want to make it about me, that's fine.
Well, I will do something special, besides the fact that I do believe it's OLR's 12th birthday, or it was last week.
Belated, yes.
So I went into the fridge, and if you look at the camera, I got a little something special here.
Heck yes. Some Fireball cinnamon whiskey right there.
It was that or the Kraken.
Release the Kraken.
I'm saving that for another convention, and as you can see, I am doing my pour.
I love this, and he's on webcam. I know this makes for great radio, but he is pouring out a very full shot of Fireball. You are not fucking around with that shot.
You should see me around Spiritus. That stuff's 196 proof.
Yeesh. All right, a toast, good sir. I raise my coffee mug.
There you go.
See.
Here's
I'll have
to
some
you.
amaretto when I
Here's
get
to
home.
me. Wait, what now?
I'll have some amaretto when I get home.
Awesome. So here's to OLR. Here's to you. Here's to me. Best of friends we'll ever be. If we should ever happen to disagree, well, fuck you, and here's to me.
Cheers.
One down.
Pouring another one.
Well,
Uh-oh, the bottle's looking a little empty.
well, I had this at a convention, so, I had to save the leftovers.
And there's some left?
Hey, you need to tell them about our hunt for soda when we had the pineapple Malibu at Thoname.
Oh, that was fun. Didn't we end up finding an awesome, restaurant place to eat for breakfast or something like that when we were doing that hunt?
We did, but they were closed at the time, and we found a vending machine that cost one more quarter than what we had. And then we found a quarter.
Yes, that was awesome. But I'm only doing a half shot because, unlike last year, I have a job and I have to be somewhat responsible.
Responsible. Overrated.
Well, I do work in IT, so...
All right, fair enough.
To you, Rob, thank you for everything you've helped with Anime Jam Session, OLR, and everything else. You are a catalyst. You are a great person. And sometimes you're a real rat bastard, but I want it any other way. So to you, good sir, happy birthday.
I'll take it. Thank you. That was very kind.
And that's it. And now I'm going to go back to finish eating my dinner. I just cooked 10 minutes ago before I walked in, turned on the feed.
All right. Well, best of luck with that, and I will talk to you later, good sir.
You got it, bro.
All right. Bye-bye.
Stay black.
Yeah, I'll try. All right.
Have some Sharpie.
Bye.
God, I'm done.
That might be
Ow,
in poor
I'm out.
taste, Starsire. All right, bye. All right. Actually, regretfully, we are going to close up the Skype line a little early here. If you did want to get through and didn't, please consider emailing us, participate at orangeloungeradio.com. But I know both Loki and Dark Sakura have to get going. They've got some other stuff they got to get to, as we talked about earlier. So we are going to go ahead and wrap up because we're after 9 o'clock on the West Coast, or midnight for you East Coasters. Again, participate at orangeloungeradio.com. We do welcome your voices. Twitter.com/OLR as well. Quickly, any last-minute headlines you want to get out, Loki?
Just that Planetary Annihilation apparently has released a physical version into retail. The only problem is it's still early access. So it says early access edition includes free upgrade to full game. It's getting ridiculous now.
All right. That is going to do it for another episode of Orange Lounge Radio. Thank you guys so much for downloading our show and checking us out. If you enjoyed what you heard here at Orange Lounge Radio, please help spread the word about our show. Tell a friend or 2 or 50 about our show and spread the word. That's all we got. A nice review on Stitcher goes a long way. Thank you. I saw a couple new reviews pop up in the past week. Thank you very much for those 5-star reviews. iTunes reviews are great too. And just, word of mouth. That's all we got. Thank you again, and don't be jerks to each other online with gaming. Quickly going around and getting final thoughts. Dark Sakura.
Yeah.
Loki, your final thought tonight.
Can I borrow Mario Kart Wii?
Mario Kart Wii?
Yeah.
Mario Kart yeah, sure, go for it.
All right, cool.
I don't... What? Okay, I have to ask, what brought that on?
Well, I've been trying to find my copy because I was telling my son about it and stuff, and I was trying to see if I can get him to play it, but I can't find my copy. So.
Yeah, go for it. Just make sure I get it back someday, and make sure the disc is actually in the box, because I'm that guy that you'll open that up and you'll be like, "What's Metroid Prime doing in here?"
Don't be that guy.
I'm totally that guy. And my final thought is, I'll try to stop being that guy, but sometimes I can't help it. I can't help it. Thank you very much for listening to the show. Have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you next time here on Orange Lounge Radio.
You've been listening to Orange Lounge Radio. Orange Lounge Radio is a production of OLR Studios. To join us for a live show, tune into VogNetwork.com Sunday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. The views and opinions expressed in this program do not necessarily reflect those of the staff of Orange Lounge Radio or Vog Network, but they were all still true. See you next week.